from the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
And welcome in, everybody, to the SMOAK Show and Q Country Roads. Just kidding, producers. Don't worry about that. But congratulations to the West Virginia Mountaineers right out of the gates as they get a big win earlier today in the Super Regionals, 12-2, the first of 4 games on this Friday, as we have got a big baseball weekend in store. And the Mountaineers one step closer to Omaha and the College World Series. 12-2. We're going to talk about this. You can go ahead and leave that up for a second. But Craig Smoke with you. David Smoke is still away on vacation in Florida. He'll be back on Monday. But thanks, everybody, for joining us, giving us a little bit of your time on this Friday. What's up to chat? I'm not going to be dabbling with y'all so much. I'm a little bit busy handling hosting duties. I know Smokey's very on top of all that. But just please police yourselves, as I know you are good about doing. But what's up, chat? Hope you're doing well. Everybody else out there, hope it's a great Friday. Garrett Ross, how's your Friday been so far?
It's been busy. But it's been fun. A lot of great stuff going on, trying to keep up with the baseball, and the hockey game last night was insane. But yeah, dude, it's been a good day. How about you?
Doing pretty well. Enjoyed watching a little bit of West Virginia earlier. Definitely enjoyed watching some hockey. And before you head out the door today, Mike, pick your brain a little bit on what happened last night. An exhilarating game where you had Carolina down 2-0. They score 3 goals in the span of just a few minutes in the third period, get into overtime, win in sudden death, and they get to even up the series at home in front of their Hurricanes faithful. That was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, the atmosphere was electric. It was one where it's crazy, dude, because coming into this, you didn't even think that the Knights shouldn't be here, and it was all Carolinas to take. But, you know, they found themselves in a deficit. They kept clawing, and ultimately they got the dub.
Yeah, they did. Now, NBA Finals return tonight, but that's all stuff we'll kind of dabble in and with and talk about throughout the show today. I do have just a couple of guests. We're going to have a lot of talk time here in the first hour. We're going to go over the College World Series and what's happened and what's going to happen later on today and also throughout the weekend. We're going to talk about the softball national champion back-to-back University of Texas as they defeat Texas Tech for the second year in a row. We'll get to that in a few minutes as well. And just all sorts of interesting kind of pro sports notes floating around. The Madden cover's been unveiled. Yeah. Caleb Williams on there doing his Michael Jordan impressions. A pretty fun Friday. And who knows, maybe we'll be surprised. I was kind of wondering today if maybe we would get some Brendan Sorsby news. But so far, nothing on that front and no indication that could be coming. But we just heard, hey, it'll be a few days. And so I thought maybe we'll get that. So who knows? But if not, then early next week, I think we'll be talking about a decision there. But let's jump on into it, Garrett. And, a couple of guests joined us today in the 4 o'clock hour. At 4 o'clock, Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Dallas Mavericks. If you are in the Dallas area and a resident, you watch the news, you know there's been a lot of talk going on about the Mavericks and the Stars and the fact that they are both leaving the American Airlines Center to go build separate arenas in Dallas suburbs, basically, or northern Dallas and kind of on the brink of Richardson and Plano. Yeah. And in that area, if you know it, you know it. But they are leaving downtown Dallas, leaving a massive vacancy there with the American Airlines Center. So we're going to talk to Chuck about that. But if you know Chuck, he can talk about anything and everything, including a big love for college sports. So we'll get his thoughts on a variety of college sports topics as well. And Zach Barnett of Football Scoop usually joins us on Fridays. He'll also be with us in about an hour and a half to talk all sorts of storylines and just whatever's on our mind when it comes to college football right now. So those guys will join us in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll have the wheel and trivia and poll questions all at the end of the show as well. So again, thank you for being with us. Smoke, you'll be back on Monday. But as I started off the show, cue the country roads. We don't have it available, and we'd probably get copyright struck if we did play it. But you could hear it if you watched the game today, or if you were on social media, certainly you saw it. West Virginia, a 1-0 series lead over Cal Poly, a 12-2 victory And now they just need one more win, Garrett, to get to Omaha for the first time in school history. They had a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first. They were leading 4-1 going into the fourth, and then a solo shot, and then a bases clearing grand slam to take an 8-1 lead. And that was pretty much all she wrote as West Virginia just plows its way into game number 2 here with a nice victory over Cal Poly.
No, they really put on for their fans. I look at right when I got to work this morning, I was looking on the internet and I saw Ren Baker, the AD, talking about how he appreciated the fans coming out and it was sold out. And he wished that he could have had more people attend, but they were opening up Randy's Ridge, which is this cliff on the side of the stadium, and all fans could go and attend for free. They were bringing out porta potties and different events. They brought in some pepperoni rolls, which are big things up there. So they had that packed out. It was really remarkable. And the atmosphere was electric and they took advantage of it. I think this is a really fun team. Hopefully they can continue the push to Omaha because the Big 12 desperately needs them and Kansas to get there.
Yeah, that would be great for the league, great for Brett Yormark and company to get a couple teams into Omaha and just carve out your own mark. But West Virginia on the verge of doing just that. They need one more win. And so, just pretty dominant. It was, like I said, 3-0 in the first, the big fourth inning that you had 5 runs piled on to take an 8-1 lead, then added 3 more in the 7th. And so really, really nice performance by the Mountaineers. And Chance and Cole, 7 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 runs, 11 Ks, gave up a homer, but a pretty solid performance. And just a great way to start off a Friday in a super regional in Morgantown, West Virginia. So it's been a great story all season long. It's not over yet. It's just a matter of how far are they going to take it now at this point. So that's how the day got started off. And shout out to Coos, our man, Justin Walker, who covers the Mountaineers in a really fantastic and fun way. I know he's got to be pumped today, and I didn't think about it too late. I said it right before the show. I was like, damn, we should have talked to Coos and see if maybe he would have jumped on, but I don't want to stress our producers out too much because they've already got a lot on their plate. So I'm not going to do that. But elsewhere, you saw the graphic from West Virginia's win earlier today. Let's pop up what is – I'll have you guess. Is it the college bracket for the tournament itself, or is this what the future of the college football playoff looks like? The size of this bracket. So don't look at the logo in the middle. Is this the current baseball playoff format, or is this the future of the college football playoff, Garrett Ross?
Unfortunately, this looks like the future of the college football playoff, and I'm absolutely going to hate it. But this is it's a fun slate that we have here in baseball. It's weird not to have some of the traditional blue bloods in the mix, particularly for me, LSU. I'll just say it. But it's going to be fun. West Virginia, like I said, they started things off. You got this USC North Carolina game that's going on right now. That should be good. But there's a lot of great matchups, man. And if you're West Virginia, you got to feel confident because you're either going to get Little Rock or Troy. You know, Little Rock was both kind of snuck their way in there. But those are going to be some fun matchups. And I'm honestly like, which one are you looking forward to the most? Is it the Oregon-Texas series, or one should be pretty good? I
think that'll be pretty fun. I think that'll be really good. I mean, Oklahoma-Kansas personally is one that I'm very much looking forward to, not only from the Oklahoma perspective, but also just the familiarity and the history with Kansas. No longer bedmates, but for a long time they were. So I think Lawrence, especially with what I saw last weekend, is going to be just a madhouse in the best kind of way. So I think that's interesting. And I refer to St. John's in Alabama as the My Cousin Vinny series because it reminds me of like seeing Rick Pitino going down to rural Alabama and, you know, having to like have his fancy shoes in the mud or whatever, the stereotype. But it's just kind of funny. St. John's in Tuscaloosa for some baseball action. Just wouldn't have pictured that necessarily, but I'm intrigued by it.
No, it's fascinating. I'm honestly surprised that St. John's is still alive. The fact that they made it out of that regional is a miracle, but it's crazy to think, like, I guess this is probably the money. Like you saw Rick Pitino have the people giving the money there. I've never even really paid attention to St. John's having a baseball program in general. But for them to be here, hats off to them. They're doing something right. But I just don't know if they're getting past the Tide.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a pretty good history, but it's not a team that you think of like off the top or even among the first like 20, 30 teams that you would mention. But there's some good ball players. I think we get so consumed by the West Coast guys or the Texas guys or the Florida guys. And there's some good ball players up in the Northeast. But leave this bracket up here because I want to go over the fact that, yes, we've already had West Virginia go to 1-0 today. So one step away from Omaha. Now ongoing, Garrett mentioned it a second ago, bottom third right now, North Carolina is up 3-1 in Chapel Hill on USC. So that Chapel Hill Super Regional, Tar Heels 3, Trojans 1, bottom of the third. Later on today, you'll have Little Rock and Troy in Troy, Alabama. And then tonight at 7 o'clock, some SEC action in Auburn. It'll be Auburn hosting Ole Miss. And so those are the lineup for today. But USC, North Carolina going on right now. And I'm not going to go over the full bracket. And I know that most of you, even on like your 90-inch TV screens, probably can't read that. I sure as hell can't read it from where I'm sitting like 2 feet away. But luckily, I do have it in front of me. That top left, the top left is Cal Poly in West Virginia. So that's where we've started. And the winner will meet Little Rock and Troy in that upper left quarter panel. In the bottom left quarter panel of who they will eventually face, you've got North Carolina and Southern Cal, and then Ole Miss and Auburn. So that side of the bracket is what's starting off today. And so that's where we are, is fully on that left side. And then you'll get into tomorrow on the upper right. It's Oklahoma and Kansas. And then that winner will go on to face St. John's, Alabama's winner. And in the bottom right, you've got Texas and Oregon, and then Mississippi State and Georgia. So that's where we are. And Georgia, the highest remaining national seed after you had UCLA and Georgia Tech get bounced. So a lot of SEC flavor, but a little bit of a sprinkling with a St. John's and a Kansas and so on and so forth. West Virginia, obviously, and hell, Troy, Little Rock, being a part of the mix is pretty cool. And the fact that one of those two teams is just a couple of steps away from Omaha is fun to think about as well.
No, it is. It's cool to look at. I think if I had to pick right now, I would think North Carolina would probably come out. I feel confident about them being one of the better teams in this. I would love to see a North Carolina and West Virginia matchup if we could get that. That would be fun. But I'm really looking forward to that Mississippi State and Georgia series. That should be good. And then if you get through that, then you're going to have to go through Texas or Oregon. But we have a lot of great matchups here. Yeah,
so a lot of baseball coming up on right now and throughout the rest of the day and then throughout the weekend. I know not everybody cares about it, but, hey, we talk college sports, and it's definitely front and center right now. But what was front and center last night, let's go ahead and get to it. For our Tech fans, I wanted to spare you at least at the start of the show and just not say anything right away, but we have to touch on it. And congrats to the Texas fans. Paxton, of course, usually always in chat with us. But last night, Texas doubles up. Not only their second win over Tech to win the national championship in softball, 2-0, but also back-to-back national champions as well are the Longhorns, and made it look pretty easy, Garrett, in the long run. And we can kind of unpack it a little bit, but just really impressive stuff from Texas. They've clearly poured a lot of resources and time and effort into the program. And we've seen that with a lot of the softball programs here as of late. And I don't say this is like an Oklahoma homer, but I think what Patty Gasso did definitely raised the bar to a level where everybody else like Texas is like, all right, we got to do more. We're going to, have a really good head coach, and we're going to battle. And Texas Tech did the same thing, and they've been very successful amongst various others. But Texas, they are the queens of softball, back-to-back national champions, and just an excellent team, excellent pitching, timely hitting, a flair for the moment, and there was no doubt who the better team was. And I don't say that as a slight to Texas Tech. It's just, hey, the proof is in the results, man. Those speak for themselves. Twitter can tweet and say whatever, but ultimately it's the final score. And Texas with the big win last night to go ahead and win their second straight softball national championship.
They are really impressive. I think Tegan Caven has probably got one of the biggest chips on her shoulder of any athlete out there right now, with all the talk and energy going on Nigeria Kennedy, and then she's the ace on the mound for Texas that gets it done. But I flipped over to that game as soon as the busted throw happened, and Texas really just took the over and dominated. And then after that, man, you could just see it. Once that 6th inning ended, you had Glasgow, the Texas Tech coach, go over and like hit the fence and just lay on it. It was like at that moment, it was like, bro, it's over. Yeah. And then, hats off to Texas, though. They're really good. But it was fascinating because Tech, like the way they unraveled, like you got people running into the wall, missing balls. You got people looking like the ball's going off their head in the outfield. It was just, I've not had seen a collapse like that in a while. It's unfortunate for them. They will be back. They should be back, but hats off to Texas for taking care of business.
Yeah, I mean, give UT a lot of credit. They did a great job. Texas Tech got the lead early on. I know I was getting texts from my sister who was kind of frantic, and she's a Red Raider grad. And then Texas takes the lead there midway through and then piles on a couple more runs in the 7th to go ahead and seal the deal. 4-1 the final. 8 hits for Texas, 4 for Texas Tech last night. And Nigeri Kennedy spent a lot of resources and effort to bring her into the program. And no doubt she, among others, it's not her. It's not just a solo act by any means, but they poured a lot of resources into trying to win a championship and to get so close. But yet so far is got to be really frustrating. And it makes you wonder, like, they're not going to not spin on softball anymore. Oh, no. But I just wonder, like, when you go back to the drawing board this offseason, you're like, okay, we spent big on this particular pitcher. We spent big on this, that, the other. Like, but I don't like want to have this conversation like I'm some expert or no, but I'm just theorizing and like I wonder what they go and they say, like, how do we take this one extra step because we're so close to winning this thing?
I don't know, because you were in the situation last year where you were right there and you went out and you addressed it. You brought in Mia Williams and a ton of other players to come, and it still wasn't enough. I would be interested to know, and if Texas Tech fans feel like, was this a success? Like, is this a success or was this a failure at the end of the day? Because you did invest all your resources and everything, and you came up short twice. I mean, to me, you're there. You're in the national spotlight. So from that aspect, it's a success. But I don't know, man. I would feel pretty upset if I was a Texas Tech fan, invested all of that money, and you still just come up short twice in a row. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game that felt like they had a chance to win when they took the lead, but again, Texas chips away, and they're able to win 2 nights in a row to win their 2nd straight national championship. So congrats to Paxton. Sorry to the Red Raider fans. We got many of them that ride along with us, and we do love and appreciate them. Know it's a bummer of a day, and yes, just back to the drawing board now to see what you can cook up for the upcoming season, but definitely disappointing. And look, let's acknowledge that there was a lot of trash talk going on around the last several days, and a lot of that had to do with football and Steve Sarkisian making some comments that everybody took as directed as Texas Tech, and led to a little bit of a back and forth, and Texas with a few parting shots, and this was one of them. Everything runs through Austin, and not trying to pour salt in the wound, but to the winner goes the spoils, and there was a lot of trash talk back and forth. This is just one of the examples of what Texas threw out there. So going off the everything runs through Lubbock line, they had everything runs through Austin, and they had I saw one that was like the tortilla, and it had an L carved out of it, and so the Texas social media team had their fun with everything, and I would assume that Texas Tech would have as well, like some horns down or something. And maybe we'll see that next year. Maybe we'll see that at some point. But UT getting their last shots in there, and I saw as well, and Cody Campbell, and I didn't throw this on there, but he is a good sport, because there was an account that did a fake quote from him. I think it was like the Slander You account. And they put up a picture of Joey Maguire and it had a fake quote, and it said, "The only reason Texas swept Tech tonight is because they were scared of Game 3." And it said, from Joey Maguire probably, and Cody Campbell, to his credit, the reason I bring it up, said, "This is actually pretty funny." And he laughed at it and had fun with it. So good being a good sport. And I know it's got to be tough, but yeah, that's like, look, man, when you talk a lot and when you've got a lot of heated passion, you either end up being the one able to talk it, or you got to be on the receiving end of it. And unfortunately for the Red Raiders, they're on the receiving end of it today.
So staying with that, this morning Joey McGuire was on Wake Up Barstool, and he actually addressed this right here, and he gave Texas their flowers. And he, so that they understand that, and they know that it's all fun and games. At the end of the day, it's not serious. But he did acknowledge this. He gave them their flowers, which I thought was pretty cool and commendable. But I wanted to get your opinion on this. So yesterday we discussed a little bit about the Duke and Michigan game that was being moved to Miami, right?
Yeah.
I saw on Reddit, and this is just theoretical, but we have seen where you have these different types of games be played elsewhere, right? You saw Nebraska volleyball go and fill up the football stadium and have a game. Mm-hmm. There was a thing out there about if Texas and Oklahoma, because they've won the past 6 national championships, could go to the Cotton Bowl and play a softball game there, like you do for Red River. Would that engage the fan base? How do you think that would do?
To go play Texas OU softball in the Cotton Bowl?
Yeah, like a Red River thing.
I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to ask that, honestly, because I'm not like super into that.
Right.
So I don't want to speak for those fan bases, but I don't know. I think they got a pretty good thing going, but as a one-off kind of cool event, I mean, I could see them doing that. Yeah, go play where the football teams play. I don't know how that would work as far as could you do that at the Cotton Bowl? Because it's such an old facility. But, I mean, you're thinking like a TV executive. You're definitely – you've been covering college football long enough now. We're starting to come up with all these crazy ideas, and there's definitely crazier out there. So, yeah, kind of walking in the footsteps of the football programs. Yeah. That might be kind of cool. But, I don't know. I don't even know if that's even something that's been discussed all that much. That'd be interesting, though, to hear what the responses might be. But softball is definitely, I don't know about the TV ratings, and I'm kind of shy to even get too deep into TV ratings right now because, again, I don't trust the system that they're using at this point, but I'd imagine pretty good as Texas Tech had some great ratings throughout their run. Texas always brings an audience, of course, so let me see if, in fact, that just kind of popped up now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I doubt it, and no, I don't see a rating. But if I see one come across, I will get to that at some point. Meanwhile, we got that going on. You got Texas winning the softball national championship, and then baseball just kind of taking the road for the rest of the weekend. Softball season is now over with, but there is continuing discussion. I am not going to dabble in politics too much here because we talk about it a lot, Garrett. I don't think it's really much your thing, and I know I get kind of tired of when it just absolutely goes nowhere. Yep. But pop up that Ross Dellinger tweet from yesterday. I want to talk about this a little bit. This was from some of the comments that were coming out, and we've talked a lot about this. This was from yesterday, but I just carried it over because I want to dabble a little bit into football and some of the ongoing discussions we've had. And this was just something that was of interest because we've talked about the term Super League a lot. And we've talked about what our own opinions are of what that would even look like and the likelihood or lack thereof of it. And this was from Yahoo Sports. Tony Petitti says he's setting the record straight on Super League talk. At no point in time have we discussed such a concept with the SEC or anyone else. Any suggestion otherwise comes from people outside our respective conferences. And this was in response to, as you see there in the quoted tweet, Ted Cruz saying the SEC and Big Ten want to form a Super League, which Tony Petitti rebuked as a fabrication. And surprise, surprise, that bill has not gone through. I don't know where it is. I saw a lot of our usual commentators like Amanda Kristovich saying like this thing might be in trouble, this, that, and the other. I'll wait for Smokey to get back on Monday and have somebody who knows what's going on, like break it down for us and all of that. But nothing new to report on any attempts to try to fix college football through legislation, which is not a terrible surprise. But I did think it was of interest because we have talked about this so much. And we got a very passionate response from Tim Brando the other day on the Super League. And he's a Fox guy. So I think I maybe hit a button that, he can't like say everything he's ever heard. And even if he did, maybe he hasn't heard anything. I don't know, but he clearly not a fan of the idea, doesn't believe that there's even any legs to it. And so if you subscribe to that line of thought, then you probably believe what Tony Petitti's saying. Do you believe what Tony Petitti's saying as far as a Super League goes? Does this make you feel any better because I know you're an LSU guy,
Right?
So you'd be in the Super League no matter what it looked like. Any variation of it, LSU's in the Super League. Like not even if there was 10 teams, if there's 10 teams, LSU's in the Super League. But does it sound entertaining to you? Is it something you would even like as a fan? And what do you think of them saying there's not even a chance that's going to happen?
I really have no interest in watching a Super League. I love college football just for what it is. And I don't like that we've killed off all these conferences. I don't like where we're at in general. And I don't want to water it down even further, which that's all that we're ever doing here. I do not believe Tony Petitti. No, you directly might not have said this, but this has been, the smoke has been out there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And we've seen this for years now. You might not be the direct person that said it, but it's coming from somewhere in your camp. There's been too much talk about it. This goes back to even Kevin Warren, and speaking of that, that's a whole nother day for today.
Yeah.
But if you just follow the tea leaves, none of these guys have the best interest of college athletics at heart. They could tell you that, but I will not believe them. You can lie to me all you want. I do not believe you. So I don't want to see a Super League. I don't think this is good for the college football as a whole. And I do not believe anybody in the camp of the Big Ten or the SEC that there have not been conversations about it. I just do not believe you.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, we've got to talk about it a little bit because we just mentioned the topic so often that to get anybody on the record, especially a commissioner who's one of the two most powerful voices, had to bring it up. And I'm with you. I think as far as what he's saying right now, that's probably true. But you know what the real test will be? If Florida State and Miami or North Carolina, whoever are available here in a couple years, does that mean that Tony Petitti is going to say, no, we're good? I don't think so. I don't think so. So whatever your definition of Super League is, if they have already added a quarter of the Pac-12 and helped kill that off, and then they're going to perhaps take 2-4 teams from the ACC and seemingly help kill that off. Well, you can say you didn't want a Super League, but you indirectly and probably in some ways plan to form some type of a Super League, because at that point you're talking about a 20-something league Big Ten with now mutated parts from the Pac-12 and the ACC. So if he's not for a Super League and neither is Greg Sankey, then I guess we don't have any realignment to worry about, right?
We shouldn't have any realignment to worry about. But it just, none of this makes sense. Like you all set this up in motion to have this happen. For me, if it's a Super League, it's maybe 25, 30 teams, but it's going to be your bluest of the blue bloods that make up that Super League. You're not keeping Maryland. You're not keeping Mississippi State.
Let's go ahead and talk about the new the punching bag. And if we've got a random fan from Rutgers that watches this show, hey man, salute to you. Thank you for being with us. But now that Indiana's won a national championship, like somebody's got to be the default team that you go, yeah, they definitely don't belong. But Rutgers would not be in a Super League. No. And not to like poo-poo on all these teams. Look, I think, and I've said this to many people, like 90% of the Big 12 wouldn't be in a Super League by my definition of it. So that's and same with the ACC, and there would be a good number of teams that you'd chop off the legs of in the SEC. Probably not as much there as you would see the damage in the ACC and the Big 12, obviously. But nevertheless, we're not on the verge of it, but it was just interesting to hear Tony Petitti go on the record and kind of hear Tim Brando get fired up about it. And I still think that anything is possible. I don't think that we're like a year away from that happening or anything, but we will see how these next few years play out, because once the chips get rolling, I remember when the Big Ten didn't want anybody from the Pac-12 until the door opened up and they were like, okay, we'll take USC and we will take Washington would be great. Ooh, Oregon too. They'd be cool. Oh, both the LA schools. Yeah, let's get that. But they weren't interested, and then they were. So it's hard to really believe anybody in any position of power anywhere right now. If their lips are moving, they're lying. This is kind of how I feel about a lot of it. But there was Tony Petitti on the idea of a Super League. So what was your idea of it? It's like,
I mean, it's got to be like if the bluest of the blue bloods.
But that's like, because you don't have to have that definition. You could have it where it's just like, hey, it's the 4 power conferences. Some people do. They think that's a Super League.
No, that's just what we have. Like, I don't think 4 power conferences is a Super League. It's just college football. But like, that's just, nothing is changing. To me, it would be, it's your Texas, it's Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, US. It's the brands. That's what the Super League is. It's just brands.
Yeah, and we did see Notre Dame's AD talking and throwing the idea out there, which got everybody in a tizzy when he mentioned the idea of what the matchups would look like. And it was like, oh, every week is Ohio State and Alabama and those types of teams. And some people are like, yeah, give me some of that. And then a lot of us were like, oh, hell, he's talking about he's actually, if anything, like hyping this kind of up by even mentioning what that would look like. Yes. So Pete Bavacqua, he's got a background in TV. He knows what he's talking about in regards to that. And ultimately, it's less about what Tony Petitti thinks probably as much as his bosses at Fox and what they have to say ultimately. But I did want to touch on that because we've spent so much time on the Super League and its concepts. And there you have Tony Petitti saying something that we will circle back to at some point in time in the next few years and go, you know what? He was telling the truth all along. They really didn't want this, or he was kind of full of it, and this was going on all along. But that conversation is sure to continue on until, unfortunately, for like 5 years from now, you got to count down, because until we get past like 2030 and we get over the next TV contracts, we don't really know. Like we really don't. Everybody has their speculation as to what happens here and what happens there and what this would look like and that would look like. Some of it is totally off the wall. Some of it's you're like, that sounds off the wall, but I could actually see that happening. Some of it sounds like it would be a layup or a slam dunk, like North Carolina joining the SEC or something like that. But I think we got a little bit more time to go. And then maybe, just maybe, in like 2030, I'm hopeful, even though that's 3.5 years away, maybe the ball gets rolling earlier, but hopefully at some point in 2031, we all can just go, boy, that last decade was crazy, but at least we've settled into whatever the hell this is now. And what does that look like? That's the mystery.
I hope we have that luxury. I'm just afraid we're going to get there and it's going to be more utter chaos. And then we're set up for another run of what the hell is this transforming into? And we're not going to be able to identify it.
Yeah, maybe it's anybody's best guess on that. But there you go. There's a few of the headlines and just stuff kind of going on today. Like I said, I was wondering, maybe we get some Brendan Sorsby news. Kind of getting down to the nitty gritty if they were going to announce anything today. I'm only going off the fact that they said there might be a decision later in the week. So not anticipating that was a given by any means, but if something were to break like that, we will pivot and get to it. But we are going to start talking a little bit more football and get into a couple of topics, just looking forward to the upcoming season. We'll do that. We'll also update scores as they come around in the college baseball landscape. And congrats once again to West Virginia on getting that first crucial win, 12-2 earlier today over Cal Poly in front of a pretty cool crowd in Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm Craig Smoke. That's Garrett Ross. We got more coming your way. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. Okay, and we're back here on the Smoke Show on 365 Sports, and yeah, that was a quick commercial break, and so here we are back again with some football to talk about, and a few different topics we're going to touch on here. I'm continuing on with my prediction series, and if you want to check that out on the 365 Sports YouTube page, and just did TCU, which I think is either up or going to be up, and I'm kind of in the middle on TCU. I don't want to spoil it for the few TCU fans that might watch it, but I'm going through everybody in the Big 12. I'm all the way up to TCU now, so By next week, I'll probably be rounding out the Big 12, and then I'll move on to the SEC next and get into that specifically. But I did find that interesting, kind of looking at TCU, that Sonny Dykes got the contract extension, and I remember there was almost a reaction of like, really? And then you look at it, and it's like the dude's won 9 games back-to-back years. They were in the national championship game 4 years ago. And, of course, all people remember is the ugly bloodbath at the end of the year, losing to Georgia in historic fashion. And it's unfortunate that that team will be as much remembered broadly by that one result as opposed to all of the history made that they had, from awards to just wins and all of those types of things. But TCU, a team that they reward Sonny Dykes, and I even remember myself going like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then you look at it as like, the 4 years he's been there, 10+ wins, national championship runner-up, then 5-7 because you lost like multiple award winners and NFL guys, and then 9 wins and 9 wins. And he's a quarterback whisperer, so I don't know what to think about Josh Hoover getting replaced by Jaden Craig. But for those interested, that's one of the things I'm talking about in that latest TCU video, and alphabetical order. So up next will be Texas Tech, that I will be predicting, and go through the rest of that next week, as I mentioned. But it's kind of fun to just dive in, and I'm learning some things along the way, just or sharpening my skills. So when we come to media days, man, here in about a month in Frisco, I'm going to be up on game when it comes to all that we're talking about. I'm going to be ready for 2026.
What, I don't want to spoil the video, but my biggest question for TCU this year, outside of the Jaden Craig and how will that work, is what is your rushing attack going to look like? Because that has been abysmal the past couple of years. And that's really, in my opinion, hindered them and not been able to let them get over the top. And that really hurt Josh Hoover too, like in my opinion. But I'm really fascinated about what that rushing attack looks like this year. Can you take another step forward with it?
Yeah, I think for them, and we're going to get to some other things here, but I think, Jeremy Payne's back. Yeah. So that's good. But then the rest of it's just a question because O-line's a question. OC's brand new, and Gordon Sam is coming over from UConn, taking over for Kendall Briles. And then you have the new quarterback in Jaden Craig coming over from Harvard. I know he can scoot a little bit, but he's really proficient passer, getting away from kind of the hectic nature of Josh Hoover, where like when he's good, he's great. Right, but when he's a little off, like it's turnover city, and it's not even just interceptions, it's fumbles. Now, like I actually just repeat my video. That wasn't always on him. Like fumbles, you got blindside sacked. So I would have dropped the ball too. Yeah. Like I don't blame you for that. But when you have enough of everything, it's like, okay, you are a little bit turnover prone. It's not just the offensive line or deflections or whatever. But yeah, no, it's TCU, so I assume they'll have good weapons. Yeah. They lose an Eric McAllister, who was very, very good for them last year. But Sonny Dykes, I think it's just, you just trust the process. You trust he's going to have a good quarterback, even if it's a random guy you maybe have never watched from Harvard. You think that quarterback will be pretty good. Defensively, though, with Andy Avalos, there's some question marks. So you can see where all that leads me with TCU. I do not have them in the Big 12 championship game. I will tell you that. I do have them at least in the bowl season, but I'll just leave it there as far as that goes. Kind of just leave it there, and you can guess whether I'm talking anywhere from 6 wins to 10 wins or whatever. But yeah, that TCU video is out. I'll get to Texas Tech on Monday and then roll through the rest and then start to get into the SEC, which will be the deepest dive I probably take on that conference, maybe that I ever have, just team by team on a basis like that. So Garrett, yesterday we did a little exercise and we talked about just some sort of random categories for coaches and players in the Big 12, or coaches and quarterbacks in particular. Gave the most confident vote and who are a little leery of and all that. But like, I think you just kind of want to riff, man. So what is on your mind right now when we think about college football that's not government related, right? That's not just extracurricular rules related. Like when we're talking about, hey man, 2026 football season, where is your head right now?
My head is, what is Darian Mensah going to look like leading Miami? I'm really high on Miami this year. I would not be surprised if they win the national championship. You got Malachi Toney, who I think is the most electric playmaker out there. Obviously, you have the receiver from I'm blanking on his name, but you got the receiver from Ohio State. But to me, Malachi Toney is a dude. So that's where I'm going with this, because when I look at Darian Mensah, it's very similar to Cam Ward. Like he was really good at Tulane, then he was really good at Duke. And then now you have the opportunity to, exactly like Cam Ward, go into Miami. I think he's a step above Carson Beck as a player. And when I look at this team, man, I think Mario Cristobal has the Canes in a position to where they could legitimately win the national championship this year.
So you're not afraid that he's going to make some dumb decision at the end of the game and cost him a national champ? No, I'm just sorry. He's deserving, especially last year, of shaking that reputation that followed him there for a little while, and deservedly so, because it was just goofy and it's college football and you got to make fun of stupid stuff like that. But no, I mean, they more than proved themselves, and I think that was something that obviously complicated sort of the ACC conversation, but ultimately did prove to be the right call, was Miami getting that call to be in the playoff. It was weird. When you look back at that, that was really strange. Like the tiebreaker
playing in the championship. Like, what the hell?
But then not only that, but then like the winner not going on to the playoff. It's just very strange and stupid. And that's one of the things about the playoff is we've had to sort of just roll into unintentionally these issues that, damn, we didn't plan for that scenario. And now you've pivoted and now you've made up for that and you've cleared the rules up to where that's not going to happen again. But Miami, as much as they could have been left out. Yeah. They could have been left out, and everybody would have at least understood that. Even if you didn't agree with it, you at least understood, okay, well, they didn't play in the championship game. And I know they were really good, but the rules, the tiebreakers are the tiebreakers. But I was glad to see them get that nod, because I think that would have led to a whole nother can of worms. And then to not only do that, but to thankfully then go forward and prove themselves, as opposed to going one and done, which would have been another C. Yeah. So it all worked out in the end, except for the final game, obviously, for the Canes.
No, it did. So that's one thing I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm curious your thoughts on Oklahoma, because when I look at Oklahoma this season, what is John Mateer going to look like? And I know he was injured last year. I think a lot of what hindered his ability, kind of like what I was saying with TCU, was Jaden Ott just never showed up. And that rushing attack was suspect. You bring over Parker Livingstone, which I think is going to be a big addition for Oklahoma. Y'all got Isaiah Satania back. And then the defense, to me, is legit. But I just don't know really what to make of this team. What are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I'm really high on Oklahoma. I'm not anticipating a national championship. I think if they are to get to that point, then John Mateer is playing his best ball. Yeah. I don't think the defense is just going to carry them. And I think we've kind of seen the defense can take you so far, but you've got to have the more well-rounded team, right? And unfortunately, Mateer, whatever you want to chalk it up to, the injury or just his game. I mean, plenty of critical opinions on his ability or lack thereof to read defenses, or his tendency to be a little bit reckless in his decision making with the football, which could be part of not reading defense as well. And I don't know, not in the film room with him, but you see the film breakdowns of him and former quarterbacks pointing out well, what's he looking at here? What decision was this? But if you watched him in Washington State, that shouldn't have been a surprise. No. And I did plenty when he was there doing stuff for the Earl Campbell Award. I watched a good bit of John Mateer, never anticipating he would end up at Oklahoma. Glad that he did, especially early on. And then, once the injury hit and all of that, it just it didn't go well for him the rest of the way. But dude, the defense is going to be sick. Yes. The defense is going to be great. I think Owen Heineke's a cherry on top of a cherry that they got a good break there as far as the judges ruling on his eligibility. And so just add him into a mix where you'd already counted for him leaving, but you got D.D. Lewis and all these. It's going to be, I think, a really strong linebacking core. And I just think, defensively, I don't have a whole lot of qualms or hesitation on feeling like they're going to be able to go and win a championship. Offensively, though, I think being one-dimensional and relying on your quarterback basically being perfect running the football, or having to take the load himself almost all by himself, and then also be perfect in the passing game, and really only having a wide receiver last year in Satania that you could really rely on, that's just not going to cut it, man. So I've got hopes that another year under Arbuckle, another year of Mateer kind of maturing, and hopefully having added enough to the talent cabinet there that they're going to take a positive step forward. But I've kind of felt a couple years the running game will be better. And so I'm hesitant to go too far in that direction. I'll believe it when I see it, kind of a thing. But I do believe just in general, I think they're going to be really good. I think Texas is a toss-up game like usual. I think the floor is like, dude, like 8 wins is the floor.
It should be.
If it's anything less than that, then I think you start to hear the drums of the Venables talk again, because you've poured so much in, and to be at 7 wins, like there better be some injuries or some just really bad luck or something. But I'm also not going national championship either. I think they're a team similar to last year, where you could be in the mix to play for the SEC, and you're right there as like one of a handful of playoff contenders out of that league.
I still don't understand why Mateer rushed back for Red River. I wish he wouldn't have done that, but I do think Oklahoma gets them this year at Red River.
You do?
I do. I'm also curious, and yesterday when we were doing our practice, and we were doing coaches we trust, coaches that need something to prove, I completely whiffed on Morgan Scalley, because I think he does got a lot to prove. And I'm interested to see, like, what does he look like year one with Utah taking over, and what on the other end of that is, what is Kyle Whittingham going to look like at Michigan? I think watching those two battle it out this year, because however you want to look at it, those two coaches and their success is going to be compared, at least for this season. For sure. So I'm really fascinated by that. And I personally believe that Bryce Underwood is the most talented quarterback Kyle Whittingham has ever had at his disposal. So if they could actually properly develop him, unlike Sharon Moore but he was out there trying to get OnlyFans models and stuff. He was focused
on the wrong thing.
He was focused on the wrong thing, but he was not focused on Bryce Underwood. No. So that's one thing I'm really interested to see, is the development of that, and what does year one look like for Scalley compared to what year one's going to look like for Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah, I want to go back. So you think Oklahoma's going to beat Texas and Red River this year?
I do. Like man, think about it. They always go back and forth. Texas won it, so Arch has already got his one. I just feel like Mateer is the competitive nature of Mateer. He's not going to lose that 2 years in a row.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'm joking, but also I'm like, oh wow. I mean, I haven't gotten to my predictions for next year, but and I need to correct myself. I'll say Kip Lewis. Kip Lewis is who I'm referring to. Dede Lewis is another name from the past, and Kip Lewis is a badass. And yeah, but Kip Lewis is who I was referring to as part of that stout Oklahoma linebacking core. Looking forward to watching him again this year. Playmaker an East Texas guy.
Yes.
East Texas boy. So we are big fans of that always. But yeah, okay. So I'll have my Oklahoma Red River prediction here in probably like 3 weeks as I go through the summer prediction series. But that was bugging me when I was like, DD doesn't sound right. And so I had to look at Kip is what I was thinking of. So
Carthage boy.
I do what you're told not to do, and I correct myself. Most media people be like, just buzz through it and don't go back. Nobody notices, but it bothers me. And so I break the rule and I just go, no, I've got to correct myself because of the one guy in like Longview who's going, right. You idiot. It's not DD, it's Kip. So anyways, to what you were saying though, as we're just kind of randomly shooting on some topics here. I'm with you, man. The Morgan Scalley thing is – so when I was going through the exercise of all these predictions, I'm doing it the right way too, where I'm like cross-checking. I don't have Utah wins this game on the Utah schedule, but then they don't win this game on the Arizona schedule. Like I'm making sure that it all works. And I'm going through the Utah schedule as I'm trying to kind of work ahead, and I don't see a lot of losses. And then I get to the end of it, and I'm like – am I giving him too much credit already? Like, I understand Utah's been very good for a very long time, been very steady. And last year, it's very weird because I know Utah is not very popular in Big 12 circles, at least online. And that leads to just a lot of bashing of them. And you know what? Some of it is absolutely warranted based on some of their fans, and not all of them, but some of them. And that's who everybody's reacting to. But there is also an arrogance that comes with how good and steady they've been for a long time. But you look at last year and people act like they didn't do anything. It's like, dude, they won 10 freaking games and they were really good and they weren't that far off from being in the Big 12 championship game. A lot of those guys come back, but they lose their offensive line. They lose their bookend tackles to the NFL as high draft picks. And you've got both the quarterbacks back. That's great. You've got some weaponry, but the offensive line is a question mark. I think defense, you just assume they'll be good, but that defense could not stop a wet napkin running the football last year at times. And guess who ran the defense? Morgan Scalley. Yeah. So I think that they'll still be really good, but I had to kind of pause and go, I need to give them some more losses, I think. But then again, I was like, I don't know. And so eventually, dude, I just walked away from the exercise and I was like, they're still a couple weeks away. I'll get to them because I was just trying to work ahead. But yeah, I had them pretty high. I think they're still going to be pretty high when it's all said and done. But I am wondering if I'm giving Scally too much credit right away because the dude's not been a head coach.
Yeah.
He's obviously been groomed for a very long time. But yeah, if you're looking at Utah, there's definitely reasons to kind of side-eye them a little bit and not just assume that, oh, he'll be just as good as Kyle Whittingham, one of the greatest coaches ever in Utah history.
But also, you got to think, dude, like the talent that they lost off that offensive line, you can't just replace that. Like You're not replacing Spencer Fano like overnight. That's not going to happen. I've been surprised of the way Utah hasn't just kind of been able to dominate like a little bit. They've kind of been disappointing to me since coming into the Big 12. But kind of sticking with that and sticking with this league, I think LJ Martin's the most talented running back in the Big 12 this year, and I'm really excited to watch him. I'm also intrigued by Cam Cook. I think that he was good at TCU, but what he did at Jack State last year, and then now going and uniting with Rich Rod, which ironically, with that whole Jack State connect.
Yeah.
But him being in that offense, I think those are two running backs this year in the Big 12 that can have breakout seasons. And I think LJ Martin's arguably one of the best running backs in the nation.
Yeah, no, I think he is as well. And I'll give my thoughts on that. I want to stop on the Whittingham part of this too, though. I'm very excited for Michigan to have some normalcy.
Yes.
Whether you feel like they deserve it or not is another question entirely because of just the way the whole news cycle has been surrounding them for about 3 years. And there's just topics that I don't want to talk about anymore.
Yes.
And people I don't want to talk about anymore, but it's just been an S show from a personality standpoint. And so to have a normal guy as a head coach for the most part, because every coach is eccentric in some way, but just somebody who's not going to, have some scandalous mistress assistant affair or get caught up in Spygate type stuff. Like, I don't think you have to worry about that with Kyle Whittingham. And so a guy who I don't know if I ever thought he would get a crack at a school as big as Michigan just because, hey, you're just going to stay at Utah forever. They'll surely never run you out. They'll surely never get tired of your steadiness. Well, they kind of did, and they didn't want to lose Morgan Scally, and so pressure just built to where, like, hey, we want Scally to be the guy. Good luck, and never thinking he's going to go get the Michigan job because that wasn't clear. Like, if that job's not available or if they know that job is going to be available, is Kyle Whittingham still the head coach at Utah? I think is an interesting question. If they knew like he was just going to immediately go there, I'd be curious to know that. But I am really excited about him getting Bryce Underwood and I'm excited for Bryce Underwood to have some stable coaching. And I think that's going to be a really fun experiment up in Ann Arbor this year. So I just wanted to touch on that part as well. So yeah, like as a Utah fan, you are simultaneously really excited about Scally, and the expectations are like 10 wins or bust. And then at the same time, you're side-eyeing your old flame, and you're, I don't know, probably some segments are rooting for him to do pretty well because, hey, thanks, Kyle, for all you did here. But I'm sure there's also a lot like, hope you do well, but not as good as we do, obviously. And then I'm sure there's some that are like, you bastard, you left, and even though we pushed you out, I don't want you to do well because, well, you're not the Utah head coach anymore.
Also, going along with that, like you bring up a really good point. I don't know that if Michigan was available, if they let him go. Like, I really don't. I think you have to hold on to him.
And I'm trying to think of the timeline, and I want to say that that was not in their thought process at all, and because they were clearly shocked when he got that job as quickly as he did. But yeah, I do wonder, like, hey, Utah, you can try to push Kyle Whittingham out, but just know that when you do that, he is going to almost immediately become the head coach of Michigan.
Yeah.
And take some of your guys with him and take some of BYU's guys with him. And like that's what it's going to look like.
Also wonder, like, the fact that he didn't win the Big 12, like, and he was able to win the Pac-12, and they came in talking all that crap, and the expectations and the bar were so high, if that kind of forced the hand or made more people be voicious on trying to get him out of there sooner because he wasn't able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I doubt that. I think that without being a Utah, like, in the mud with the Utes, like, from the outside, I think that they love and respect him. I just think it was a situation where they really think that Morgan Scally is like the bee's knees, and they would rather push out the legend and move on to the next thing, because the legend might have kind of tapped out the high points of this thing. And so we kind of maximize what we're going to do here. Let's pivot and take it another step up. And I think that's probably that's certainly the hope.
Yeah.
But part of the thought process. But I think you also did that thinking, yeah, Kyle's just going to retire and he's going to be like hosting, alumni on Saturdays at the stadium in a suite and just raising money for us or whatever you expected him to do. But I think a guy with some actually like good football basic building blocks for a school like Michigan, even with the national title a couple years ago, is sorely needed and will be really interesting to see how that looks. Like similarly, not that Penn State was a mess, they just could not win the big games, but I'm really intrigued by Matt Campbell at Penn State. Intrigued. Like I am really excited to see what he does there, because for the longest time the thought has been he's more than ready, he's going to be great, and all that. But we'll get to that maybe if we have time a little bit later. But those two jobs in the Big Ten, Whittingham and Campbell, both coming over from the Big 12. I think for big jobs too, that's going to be really interesting. And I didn't want to get away from your question, and I don't think we have time to really get in depth on it. But yeah, I think LJ Martin's going to be great this year. I think Texas Tech's going to have an incredible rushing attack as well, with Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey and whoever else they want to throw out there. I think that Tech, that's one of the answers to the quarterback question. Whatever ends up happening is, well, if you don't have Brennan Sorsby and it's Will Hammond or it's whoever for whenever, however, just hand the ball off. Just hand the ball off to Dickey and to Williams and to whoever else you've got back there that you want to get the ball in the hands of. But yeah, I think that's going to be an exciting backfield as well. And there's a lot of other guys that departed this year. There's not a lot of, I think, just home run running backs that you just reel off. Like, how does Dylan Edwards do at Kansas this year is a question I have. I feel like not nearly as many people care as they did about a year ago about what happens. But that's where kind of his journey has taken him at this point, where you're just sort of like, whatever. But certainly a high profile guy that could make a difference for the Jayhawks, but I'm interested to see how that goes for him.
I am too. And honestly, like you mentioned their Tech, and you mentioned
Dickey and Williams,
the quarterback. Why am I blanking? Not Sorsby.
Will Hammond.
So Joey mentioned this morning that they were doing 7-on-7, and that Will Hammond came up to him after that and was saying this is the best he's felt, and he's looking good and excited for the season. So something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think every update on Will Hammond is going to be like breaking news in Raiderland to see where he is, and hopefully he can be back sooner rather than later. You certainly don't need to rush him back for the first couple of weeks. I think you can handle your business with any of your other guys back there. But yeah, and then who the hell knows, Garrett? Maybe, just maybe, there's this breaking news alert, and it's like Brennan Sorsby is suspended for 2 games. I highly doubt that, but until it happens, we don't know. And so the quarterback question's a little bit still of a puzzle, but I think they're going to be fine either way, and that running game will be a big part of the reason why. So there's just some football talk for you on a few things on our mind. Coming up next, we'll get into the 4 o'clock hour. Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Dallas Mavericks, will join us to talk some college sports stuff, but also get into a little bit of pro sports with the Mavericks moving arenas, the Stars moving arenas, both moving from the AAC in downtown Dallas. It's a big deal for people in the area and fans of those teams. So we'll get his thoughts on that as well. And the NBA Finals. I mean, he's a guy that's seen these teams as close up as anybody, so we'll get his thoughts on Spurs and Knicks as well. So Chuck Cooperstein coming up next. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Spring is here, and so are the savings during Richard Card's Spring into Savings sales event.
Right now, save $13,000 on a GMC Sierra with qualified trade-in. Or qualified buyers get 2.9% financing for 72 months. Get a 2026 Sierra for $585 a month with qualified trade-in. All GMC Sierra 2500 HDs are $9,000 off right now.
Spring into action and save. Get your next ride at the Spring into Savings event at Richard Card.
Richard Card, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And welcome back into 365 Sports, hour number 2. We're with you until about 5:30 today. Garrett with us for most of the next hour. We're efforting Chuck Cooperstein, Dallas Mavericks voice, and just DFW sports personality. If you've been around the area, certainly if you've watched the Mavericks, you know of Coop. And if you've watched this show long enough, you know that he's been on with us a few times and always has a lot of good and fun opinions that we will get to along the way with him. We'll go ahead and give you an update on what's going on in the baseball super regionals right now, as earlier today, West Virginia with the win to take a 1-0 series lead over Cal Poly. 1 win away now from Omaha for the Mountaineers. But game 1 going on out in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. North Carolina, the home team, up 5-2 now in the top of the 6th inning on USC. Looks like... I think USC has men on second and third with 1 out, and they'll try to chip away at this lead. So a little bit of ball still left to play, but 5-2 North Carolina right now over USC, and still a few more games to come later on today. So there you go with that. Texas, we talked about winning the softball national championship last night. You got NBA finals going on, and you're not much of an NBA guy at this point, right? Like,
I try. Honestly, watching the Knicks and how they play, the style that they play with, if everybody in the NBA played like that, I could probably like it again. But once they got to the whole, man, we were there for like 2 decades or almost with the everybody's buddy and then just shooting threes and foul and flop. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this nonsense. So it made me, which sucked, dude, because I love basketball. Like, right. I love basketball. And just it's got the product got to the point where I couldn't recognize it, and it just lost my interest.
Yeah, I definitely got a bit well, I mean, the Luka thing, I've talked about that ad nauseum. That just really killed a lot of my spirit for it. But I know all the back and forth that's been said about the NBA, and there's a lot of like political feelings about certain things and all that. I don't care so much about any of that. I more or less was put off about like the flopping. And after a while, after you've marveled at Steph Curry a few times, and he's incredible, and he still is incredible, but after a while, just like the threes from anywhere, it's like you still marvel at it, but it's just kind of like, okay, I've seen this, and I don't know, now it doesn't even really resemble basketball in some ways because you can just launch a three from anywhere, but it's the evolution of the game. So I'm open to that, but this does feel like it's got some grittiness to it. And you've got some physical, super talented freak show athletes like Wembanyama and Jalen Brunson. So there's some great star power, but yeah, that was an electric game. Number one, a huge win for the Knicks. And so hopefully we can get Chuck Cooperstein on to be able to talk about that for a few minutes, among some other topics, including the Stars and Mavericks deciding to relocate, which is a big story for the folks in Dallas, because if you don't know, unlike the kind of pattern, or this is likely the pattern of what we've seen with a lot of pro sports teams, is for a long time they were all in downtown areas or in the cities themselves, and now more and more they are going out to the burbs. And in the case of the Chicago Bears, maybe an entirely new state, which we can get into as well, as there was more news on that today. But people are just vacating the cities for tax breaks and other reasons. And for Dallas, if you drive into, downtown Dallas is not a hopping spot anyways. It is not like the friendliest downtown. And I don't even mean from a crime perspective. I just mean from like
getting around it.
Getting around. It's if you go down to see like Dealey Plaza where JFK was shot, and the museum and all of that, like that's worth the trip. But it's not a downtown. It's not like walking around New York City.
No,
it's not like that. It's more of a sprawl, and that's what all of Texas is really. It's not walking friendly. So we love our oil here. But you had what I think has grown out to be right there, American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas. And I drive by it every time I go up there to see my sister. And it's perfect. It's right there in downtown. But when I went for the Big 12 women's basketball tournament to cover it like 10 years ago, I remember Paul and I, we're just walking. And there's like a museum randomly, but there's like very little restaurants. There's very little, it just kind of sucked to walk around downtown. And so then they kind of built up around it over the last few years, and to the point where people I know that go to Stars games feels like they got actually a pretty cool scene there now.
They do. I went to watch the Stars and the Oilers over spring break, and it was the first time that we had been down. It was my first time to the AAC, honestly. But we walked. We were staying across. We were able to walk there. It was about a 40-minute walk. We were by the AT&T district, and then we walked to downtown. But there's plenty of restaurants that have popped up there. Like the atmosphere outside of the arena was really nice and everything. It's at this point with the city of Dallas, what is left there to draw people to come to you? Like Fort Worth is surpassing you as one of the most popular cities in America right now. Arlington's got the Cowboys. You're to a point now, what is there to go? Why shouldn't anybody go to Dallas proper?
Yeah, I don't know. So they've had a little bit of a scene pop up, and now they're going to leave that and go their separate ways. And I think it's going to leave a major void there. I don't think the future's all that bright for downtown Dallas right now. And it's great if you live in Plano or Richardson or somewhere like that. But I think it's going to be tough to try to replace the feeling that was down there. And I don't know what that means for the long-term future of downtown Dallas as a promising come over here, because it was already difficult enough, even with those teams down there. So maybe the Wings move there or something. I don't know. But meanwhile, today in Chicago, Illinois, the Bears Board of Directors, this was actually yesterday, they voted to advance the stadium development in Hammond, Indiana. There is not an exact site that has been selected just yet, but the Bears Board of Directors met and voted to advance their stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana. The exact site to be selected, they believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region, connecting northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago, through the Loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and businesses. Hammond, Indiana's hell, we're going to get the Chicago Bears? Okay, cool, man. But a lot of people, the reaction that I've seen, obviously very upset by this news and just the idea of another team leaving the city it's actually from, and the Chicago Bears being, in Hammond, freaking Indiana, at least be in Illinois. And I don't care the proximity or whatever. It's Indiana. It's not Illinois. So weird, but that's more par for the course. You see the Browns moving out to the burbs as well, and it's just kind of the thing to do nowadays. But I've seen the debate too on like the downtown. Like I went to Detroit one time. I don't know if you've ever been to Detroit.
I haven't been to Detroit.
I don't even remember the name of the sports bar, but it's a really cool sports bar right there in downtown. And you could see, like, I believe it's Comerica where the Tigers play. And Joe Louis Arena was in the vicinity somewhere, and Ford Field was in the area, and all of it was downtown, and it was really cool. And the bar setup they had, like, you could see the stadium from outside, and it was awesome. But I know that, like, that doesn't necessarily make it great being downtown, but it felt like this is the way it's supposed to be. I know there's issues that come with that, but I much prefer that to the just random ass lot 1,000 miles from civilization that's going to get built up over time, like Arlington was, and AT&T Stadium was for the longest.
Well, that's how Pittsburgh still is. If you go to Pittsburgh, like you have Acrisure Stadium and then PNC Park on the same side of the river, and they're walkable distance from each other. And then on the other side, you have PPG Paints Arena where the Penguins play. But the city itself isn't very big, and the accessibility for walking is, it is amazing there. You can walk everywhere in Pittsburgh. But, like, I wish more cities were like that, where you could just keep it in the town. I don't like it being spread out. And as far as the Bears, like, if they would have gone to Arlington Heights, even though it's essentially the same distance, I would have rather them do that just to stay in Illinois. It makes no sense that you have the Chicago Bears playing in a different state.
Yeah, it's very weird. So you've seen a lot of outcry over that. And I saw our buddy Shahan Jayaraja, and we're still efforting Chuck Cooperstein here. But I saw our buddy Shahan make a comment about, was like at some point, when are these sports teams going to realize, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but when are they going to realize that, like, you can't just keep asking and asking? I was like, yeah. Dude, Shahan, you're a really smart dude. Like, you do realize that's exactly what they're planning on doing. Exactly. like, are you following the world right now? Like, they're going to ask for everything. And then when it finally runs out, they're going to, like, their jaws will drop and they'll be like, what do you mean no? But until then, they're going to keep asking, and the highest bid and the highest dollar is going to take them to Hammond, Indiana, or wherever they need to go. And then maybe these projects are something we're talking about as being like some great deal in the long run. But, yeah, I mean, the greed's never been worse than it is right now. No, it's not going to get any better seemingly anytime soon. So, yeah, I fully expect at this point that the sports teams are not going to do what's best for their constituents or their home cities fans. They are going to do what's best for them as franchises. And for the Mavericks and Stars, I think there's a little bit more involved than just chasing money. But that's obviously always going to be a big part of the equation. So, yeah. I
guess SMU will still be Dallas's team.
Yeah. I mean, they will certainly market themselves as Dallas's team. SMU has done a good job of trying to be Dallas's team. And yeah, you drive through, and I have to drive like by Highland Park, not to Highland Park. My sister and brother-in-law aren't doing that well for themselves. But hopefully one day we'll get there. But, driving through that area, I always see the random street sign for SMU or whoever, and they go all in on trying to be Dallas's team. But Dallas is just a weird area, man. Its allegiances are kind of all over the place. I'd say it's more of an Oklahoma town in some ways than it's an SMU town, and certainly more of a Longhorn, Aggie, Red Raider, even TCU town than it is an SMU town in a lot of ways, outside of Park Cities, basically. But that little stretch of area beyond that, it's pretty much all pro sports, and then the Longhorns and the Aggies. So, all right, we're going to effort Chuck Cooperstein and continue on throughout the break. But let's take a break here, Rez, and we'll just come back and kind of reset. We got Zach Barnett, who's going to be joining us here. We might just get back to talking some random football if we can't get Coop. That's unfortunate, but hey, it's live radio, or this isn't radio, I guess it's live shows. It's live media. And this stuff happens sometimes. So we'll take a break right here. We'll come back. Zach Barnett will be with us at around 4:30. Thanks for being along for the ride. And we'll have more coming up. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the SMOAK Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the SMOAK Show on 365 Sports with David Smoke and Craig Smoke.
And welcome back into the show here. Craig Smoke with Gary Ross. Smokey on vacation until Monday. He'll be back from Florida, Lord willing, and back to normal for the foreseeable stretch. I might take a day here in the future. I think Garrett's going to have a little bit of vacation. You definitely deserve some vacation time. Yeah, well,
Hope so.
Maybe. We will see how that goes. But we're doing good. Hopefully you're doing good as well. And thanks for being with us. And we got Zach Barnett of footballscoop.com will be joining us. Unfortunately, couldn't get a hold of Chuck Cooperstein. So I would assume he will probably join us like Monday or Tuesday of next week if available. And we will get into some of what we're going to get into with him. From college sports to the pro landscape. And I want to talk some just kind of as we were doing riffing on college football earlier, but some quotes from Greg Sankey coming out as he's been talking this afternoon. And this from Ross Dellinger. As Ross is always the breaking news man around college football, but he put out just a little while ago, after Thursday's meeting, SEC and Big Ten are drafting suggested revisions to the Senate bill to be sent to congressional staff members. Sources tell Yahoo a committee markup, the next stage in the process, is not expected until at the earliest June 15th week. So at this point, nothing has changed. I know you're shocked. I know you can't believe it because you fell for it again, that there was going to actually be a fix. I did too. No, I'm at the point I think everybody is like, I know why we talk about it. For some people, it's fascinating because it's political and people love like the politics of it all. And the tug of war and everything. And the end result, we are all interested in what that looks like. It's just a lot of us like to fast forward to whatever that end result is. And then again, we maybe don't because maybe we don't like that. But nevertheless, all of this talk and discussion has amounted to really not much of anything ultimately. And all of the latest discussion about the proposed legislation moving forward that would be a cure-all in so many ways that the SEC and Big Ten immediately said, we're not signing that. The Cruz and Cantwell bill, that seems to be, really hitting a wall now at this point. So, Sankey is talking about some of those items. But what did you have to say first?
Well, I was thinking, like, going back to earlier with Tony Petitti, he was like, talk about the Super League and we're not saying anything. Like, actions speak louder than words sometimes. So when y'all are coming together and not wanting to sign an agreement that everybody else has got on board with, that kind of makes me think you are wanting your Super League.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's a couple of quotes here that from Sankey that will actually mention the Super League, as a matter of fact. But Greg Sankey, talking to Paul Feinbaum, said he shared with Ted Cruz yesterday that we are not having conversations about a merger or Super League.
Okay.
Sankey mentioned by name the private equity-backed Smash Capital's involvement and suggests they approached the SEC and others about a Super League. Now, that's to be believed. Heard of that. I've heard we've talked about Smash. You might have just gotten lost in the weeds of it all because, I mean, Lord knows I don't blame you at all. And there's been a lot of different private equity firms we suddenly have to know the name of. But they were. See, now I'm going to get confused.
I just remember Redbird. I don't remember Smash.
Yeah, Redbird is specifically the Big 12 loan, and you can take it if you want to, and if not, that's cool too, because this is really about what's going to happen down the line. But Smash was the one that I believe had like the big see, I don't want to like misstate here because I want to be accurate, but I think they might have been the one where it was like, let's geographically make sense again.
Okay.
And it didn't really go anywhere from what I recall. But it was the Project Rudy. That's what it was.
I remember that.
The Project Rudy, which would have given like billions of dollars of money right away. They would have centralized media rights. So you know immediately why that's off the table. And then they would have had 70 teams participating that would all put their rights together to maximize profits. So, you know, Cody Campbell loved that part of the idea because that's a big proponent of what he's talked about, or he's been a big proponent of that idea of pooling media rights. It also would have had the 70-team model, eliminating matchups against G5 and FCS teams. So it would only be powerhouse programs, quote unquote, powerhouse programs playing each other to drive up the value. And there would be tiers and divisions and relegation. And so that was like an idea from a couple of years ago, the Smash Capital one. But he actually mentions that by name and saying that, where did that one go I just had? So he shared with Ted Cruz. He suggests that Smash Capital approach the SEC and others about a Super League. So, I absolutely buy that because we've talked about that. Sankey also on Feinbaum said the SEC has a responsibility to make things better with possible revisions in the bill. He says there are a dozen big bucket items that will be refined for feedback, and he cast doubt that pooling rights is optional. I really need to see that it's voluntary. So, he is not of the opinion that the pooling rights is something that you can choose to be a part of or not. So that's something that he would need to see to be more on board with it. He also said that he is critical of the bill singling out the SEC and the Big Ten with the anti-expansion clause, and reemphasizes he is against pooling rights. We feel like it's our right to make decisions on our media rights. And you know what? That is the American. He should be allowed to say that. Like, I don't think you're the bad guy if you don't want to put your TV rights with the Big 12 or the ACC. I totally understand that. It's not necessarily good business for you. It's not even being selfish. There's other things that are more selfish. But that making the money that you make, like eating what you killed or what you've earned, I don't think that's selfish at all. And as the commissioner of that conference, and not of the entire landscape, I think that some of your SEC teams would suffer from having to share some of that money. So I'm not surprised, and I don't blame him for not being on board with the whole pooling of media rights. That's totally an understandable line that the Big Ten and the SEC don't want to cross right now. Meanwhile, asked about Smash Capital in particular, it's rolling the bill and approaching his schools. Ross says, Greg Sankey delivers a long-winded answer that includes outside entities are pulling strings to accomplish their agendas when talking about the bill. So
is that a shot at Fox?
Could be, or could be about the private equity. Yeah. I think it's about Smash, probably to some degree. And, it's clear, man, that all of these schools are getting approached, whether it's like on a conference-wide level or it's more on a singular individual level like Utah. And I think there's no denying that it's going to be like venom where it just sort of seeps into, but it's a matter of like who accepts it or who doesn't. And Utah's they've swallowed the pill first. But I would not be in any rush if I was if I was a successful enterprise that's not hurting for money. Yeah. The last thing I'm going to go do is just go like, let me sign up for this private equity thing. That would be the dumbest possible thing. So Greg Sankey, as much as he might be painted by some corners as like preventing the solution, if you look at it from his point of view, he's doing the logical thing for his company or his conference. Mm-hmm. And the dumbest thing would be to rush into signing paper just so Oklahoma State's okay in the long run, which I want Oklahoma State to be okay. I am not trying to shed more teams or anything like that. Clearly, we talk a ton of Big 12 on this show, more than most anybody. But I also can be an individual and say, like, that's a stupid business decision to just go jump in bed with private equity and all the other conferences and share the money that you make that separates you from others. That, and then also, like, we have, every time private equity has been brought up, there have been people that push back and say, we don't truly understand it, and it's not the big bad boogeyman that it seems to be. But when I see Utah taking it and immediately gutting some of their athletic department, I don't want to be involved in that, and I don't want my program involved with that. And if I was Greg Sankey, I don't want any team in the SEC to go through a similar situation. I'm staying away from it. Well, that's the private equity model, man. They're going to come in, they're going to carve it up, they're going to get rid of a bunch of jobs. They'll bring some people back just to soothe feelings, and they'll put them in different positions. But a lot of people will lose their jobs, and then that's a way to cut money. So when you make money, you make more money, and it's a whole. I've figured out through WWE and UFC, like the whole PE model and how it kind of works to some degree. And so that's just natural, as like immediately they're going to start cutting some jobs. Exactly. They're going to start cutting quote unquote fat, even if it's not really fat. And so that's to be expected. That's why I didn't really balk at that, because that's exactly what was going to happen. It's just a matter of, okay, how many jobs do people get rehired for? And then what does that look like? That'll be the question for Utah. But I don't think there's anything alarming necessarily, as much as alarm bells were sounded when you're like, oh, Utah's making cuts. That's totally what was going to happen the moment you decided to sign up with private equity. But now it's a question of, okay, what happens after that? Yeah. Like, how many nickels do they squeeze out of you, and where else are you cutting corners to try to turn a profit and give them their due? So there you go. There's a couple of quotes from just Feinbaum talking with Sankey, and I'm sure there will be some others that come down, and I'll get to those a little bit later on. But coming up next, we got Zach Barnett. We're not going to talk PE with him. We might just get into our general conversation about just college football, man. We are still a bit of a ways away from the starting line. We're a month out from media days, but it's always fun to just talk about the stuff year round, and that's what we'll do with Zach Barnett next. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now, or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership, and how well service and any kind of warranty issues and those sort of things because of the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. I said I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And today, Craig Smoke and Garrett Ross, but we are rolling on along here. Hope you're having a good Friday. We are joined now by Zach Barnett of FootballScoop.com. Normally joins us on Fridays to talk all things college football. And Zach, I think we just want to talk like mostly football with you today. I know sometimes we dabble in the politics and the various things going on, but before we get into just some ball talk here, how much are you of a baseball, softball fan this time of year? Is it something that you get all that into? Like, were you monitoring Texas and Texas Tech's softball national title game last night? Are you watching the baseball games this afternoon? Or are you mostly just a football guy?
Oh, I love college softball. I'm a Texas grad. My alma mater won, so I was paying attention for those reasons. But I generally enjoy the sport. It seems like every game is a tight game. Whether it's pitching dominated or they're hitting home runs, like it's a bandbox. Either way, it's close. The bases are close, so it seems like if you don't play a ground ball absolutely perfectly, then the runner's getting on base. And the 7 innings aspect doesn't hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Getting through when you're in the 4th inning of a 7-inning game, you're like, okay, we're pretty close to the end. 4th inning of a baseball game, you're like, oh, okay, how much longer do we have to go here? So I can't sit here and say that I'm paying attention to either sport in February or March, but I make time for the Women's College World Series every single year. Baseball, I'll dabble in more, but I prefer college softball and college baseball, and I generally enjoy college softball.
Well, we have a lot of Tech fans that watch, Zach, so just be nice, okay? It's rough, man. And they were really, really good too, but Texas is just they're on a heater right now, and back-to-back tough break for the Red Raiders, but hell of a Texas team, and so that had to be a lot of fun for you last night.
Yeah, I have one dear friend in my life that's a Tech fan that just tried to do the whole, it's just softball thing. I was like, no,
Yeah,
you would be shooting guns off in your neighborhood if Tech had won and beaten Texas. And, I mean, that's the beauty of sports in a way. I think, it's not just limited to Tech. I think to Nebraska basketball, and they had the best season that program's had ever, making the Sweet. They never won an NCAA tournament game, and then they're in the Sweet 16. And then you lose to Iowa, who's not a historic rival, but Iowa's now Nebraska's biggest rival since they joined the Big Ten. So it can exalt you and humble you in the same season, in the same weekend. And for Tech to make 2 straight finals is a smashing success. But if they'd lost to Alabama or UCLA in those finals, it would feel differently than losing to Texas in those 2 finals.
Zach, as far as football goes, I'm curious, what are a couple of games that you're most anticipating this year for college football?
I think Ohio State at Texas. That's the easy answer. because it's the biggest game in the early season. But I think the stakes of that are different. For Texas, you're never going to demand to go to Columbus and win, especially in game one of your new starting quarterback. But I think Ohio State coming to Austin, that's a must-win game for Texas. You can't lose that game. LSU at Ole Miss, I think that should be everyone's number. That's my number one, should be everyone's number one. Ole Miss has a reputation for forever. They were the team that they'd win the tailgate. But the game, we'll see. But that needs to be different this time around. I mean, if Vaught Hemingway Stadium has the ability to have a raucous atmosphere, we will see that on September 19th. So I'm very interested in that game. And then another one, just to stick local, Houston at Texas Tech has my attention. That's a Friday night game. Selfishly, I wish that was a Saturday game because I'll be at a high school game more than likely that night. But that's a game. Houston's a preseason top 25 team. Texas Tech, who knows will be at quarterback for them. Might be Brandon Sorsby, might be Will Hammond, might be door number 3. But if Houston has designs on making some noise and not just being a top 20 program, then that's a big opportunity for them.
I've kind of circled that game as I don't think there's a lot of slippery slopes for Texas Tech this season, unless the quarterback, just falls off a cliff, which I don't anticipate that. I think they'll be able to manage that pretty okay. And it's not like they had incredible quarterback play, and that's what guided them last year either. So I think but that game's early enough. It is in Lubbock, but it is on a Friday night. It's like week 3, where I kind of side-eye that when I go, man, if Tech were to slip, that would actually be kind of a logical place because who knows what the quarterback situation looks like at that point.
Yeah, I think I think we can. I'm certainly not reporting anything with any certainty, but I would be surprised at this point if Brendan Sorsby plays. Right. I just choose to have enough faith in the system that someone who gambled on sports is not allowed to play in that sport. And so the talk is they're hopeful Will Hammond will be back for week 2 maybe, so he should be back for week 3. But who knows what you can reasonably expect out of him. He's played real football before, went on the road and beat Utah for them last season. So that was the biggest game Tech had played in a long time when they went to Salt Lake City and won that one. So I don't want to say that he's never done it, but to step in as the guy in what will be your first real start, we can safely say that is a different bar to clear, different set of expectations. So I'll probably, that game's 3.5 months from now, but I'll probably pick Tech, but Houston will have my attention.
So it came down yesterday. Virginia Tech got a $75 million bonus for their athletic department. How do you think that James Franklin can utilize that? And do you see him being able to get the Hokies back to winning 10 games like they used to in the early 2000s?
Yeah, I think James Franklin, people can lament it. I would have fired James Franklin when I did if I was in charge, but he's going to be an incredibly tough act to follow at Penn State. Did a lot of really good things, and I think he got Penn State to 95% of its ceiling. If he gets Virginia Tech to that, then you are where probably Louisville is, where you're an annual 9-win team that breaks through, wins the ACC when things are going right. I think he can get there. I think it's interesting. People are excited about his quarterback take and recruiting. He seems to me like the similar level of guys, a Christian Hackenberg, a Drew Aller, guys that never really developed all the way under him. I liked when I thought the best quarterback he ever had at Penn State was Trace McSorley, a guy who did not have a pro football career really whatsoever, but was a really good college quarterback. But he seems to have his type. So I think if he can get them to winning 9 games, winning 10, maybe 11 when everything breaks right in an ACC that's wide open. If you're not playing Miami, who in that conference really scares you? There's a lot of teams that you respect, but there's not a whole lot of teams that scare you.
I am fascinated by Matt Campbell in Happy Valley, Zach. So long we were wondering, when's he going to take that next job? When's he going to get that big job? And then finally it occurs this offseason. But I don't really. I think they'll be obviously very solid and fundamentally good, and the program will be in great shape, and they'll graduate guys, and it'll feel like home and all of that. But I have no idea what to expect as far as actually the results go in the Big Ten for him in Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this week that we in the media failed miserably to project next year's Indiana. Talking about the 2025, we all thought it'd be Illinois and ranked them we were so convinced that they were going to be that year's Indiana that we ranked them in the top 10 to start the season. And Indiana started the year at number 22. And then Indiana went out and won the national championship and beat Illinois 63-10. So Indiana was next year's Indiana. Indiana will not be this year's Indiana because they're going to start the season in the top 10. So I'm not saying that they won't be successful, but their success won't sneak up on anyone. So if anyone in the Big Ten is that, I think it is Penn State. They have a lot of that same formula that allowed Kurt Cignetti to hit the ground in a dead sprint the way that he did at Indiana, bringing in all the guys. I think the number's 24 players following James Franklin from Iowa State, and including the quarterback Rocco Becht. So what does that mean? I mean, those guys went 8-4 at Iowa State. It's not like he's importing a Big 12 championship team. Right. He's importing a contending Big 10 team. So I think it's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Like Penn State is never going to out-recruit Ohio State. Probably not going to out-recruit Michigan. NIL, tough to win those battles because you're competing with the richest programs in college football. But can you get more out of your team than what your roster says you? James Franklin did not do that. I think Matt Campbell can. Does that mean he's going to win a national championship? Like I said before, Penn State fans are going to be like, okay, well, 11-win regular season's a given for us. A national semifinal is a given for us. Take us further. It's going to be a tough act to follow in that regard. But, I think he can get the most out of what they have. And if one team starts from the middle of the pack in the Big Ten and is playing in a Big Ten championship game, my money would be on Penn State.
Sticking with the theme of coaches at their new programs, I'm curious, who do you think has a better year one? Is it going to be Alex Golesh at Auburn or John Summerall at Florida?
Oh, I think John Summerall at Florida. Part of that is I'm just a big fan of him. Yeah. You look at what he did at Troy, look at what he did at Tulane. His Tulane team was better than Golesh's team, and Golesh probably had more support than he had. Not to criticize him, and I watched Golesh's team go to North Texas and beat a team that played for that conference championship and physically whip those guys. So I think he can do a good job. I think Florida. That was a top 10 team because it was a top 10 roster. Billy Napier assembled a really, really good roster that just didn't come together for reasons that were his fault, not his fault. You lose the quarterback, obviously, now at Baylor, but I think he did a better job than most would, and frankly, than I expected in keeping the guys that he did. The receivers, the running back that Florida retained would start for most everyone. That whole group would start for almost anyone in college football. That's a really, really good group that he has. So when you bring in the John Summerall coaching ability, the culture, whatever you like, I really like how he hired. I think Buster Faulkner is a great hire. I trust whoever they brought. Aaron Philo, Haynes King's backup from Georgia Tech. So obviously, if Buster Faulkner had the ability to say, "Why don't you stay here? Or why don't you go somewhere else?" But he brought him to Florida, so he knows what he has in that guy. So, I think Florida, I would not be surprised if Florida's a top 5 program 2-3 years from now. Like I'm more bullish on Florida than I am on LSU under Lane.
Okay. Oh, okay. You are too.
I wish.
You're an LSU fan.
I personally wish LSU would have hired John Summerall over Lane Kiffin. I think he's a better football coach.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, well, that's definitely going to be something to revisit. And on that topic, we got Zach Barnett, Football Scoop. We're just talking some ball, some offseason storylines here on a Friday. Kind of going off of Garrett's question here, like when we revisit in a couple years, who do you think's happier? Is it the Utah fans that they pivoted and decided to go Morgan Scalley, or do you think it's Michigan fans with Kyle Whittingham? Who do you think? I don't know if there's a winner. Both could win technically, Zach, but who do you think theoretically wins between those head coaches over the next couple of years?
I mean, you got to look at who they're replacing. And Sharon Moore is a much, much easier act to follow than Kyle Whittingham. So, I mean, that's a serious situation in Michigan. I'm not trying to make light of it, but they got off that train at the right time.
The bar is low, yes.
Yes. So, given the premise of your question, I think it's easily Michigan fans. But, and I mean, that Utah, I have to wonder if they'd still push Kyle Whittingham out the door if they'd known Michigan was going to open. I mean, these head coaching waiting things have a shelf life. They've obviously are very impressed with Morgan Scalley, given that they named him head coach in waiting. He had the racially insensitive comment come out that kind of knocked him on his keister professionally, and then he coached his way back into being the heir apparent. So obviously this guy can coach and knows that program back and front because he's been associated with it since he was 18 years old in one form or another for all but a year or so, I believe. So they're very confident in him. And I mean, are you going to bet on a 45-year-old or a 65-year-old? I mean, Whittingham had made noise and head fakes towards retirement. So I don't fault them for going with younger at that position. But I do have to think that they were probably in the AD's office wincing a little bit when they saw that Whittingham take that Michigan job. Because, I mean, he's taking a job that is 2 seasons removed from a national championship that has the most talented quarterback in college football. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Michigan is back competing for national championships more soon than Utah is. But I mean, you don't know that when you have to make this decision, and Utah really was up against it. So I don't fault them for doing that. But I mean, if I had to bet my life on one of those teams winning their conference before the other, it would be Michigan.
If you were a coach and your job was on the line this season, would you rather have Connor Wigman or Kevin Jennings as your QB1?
It's a good question. I'd probably go Jennings. More experience, more big game experience. He hasn't won a conference championship, but he's played in a conference championship game. Been taken SMU to the playoffs. I'd probably go Jennings, but if my life was seriously on the line or my job was on the line, I'd press you for more questions on the supporting cast because I could easily be convinced of Wigman if I was offered a little bit more in that regard. But just those two, I'd go Jennings slightly over Wigman.
All right, so I've got a question that's it's just I don't believe this is the case at all. Like Steve Sarkisian's not on the hot seat. Okay, I just want to be very clear about that. But the expectations for Texas are sky high. We know that, and every year they're pretty high. And I just come across a conversation. Sark has his doubters that feel like he's just not going to ever be the guy, the man or whatever. But you as a Texas guy and a Texas fan, I was just curious, not like, does Sark have to win 10 games or he's out? Because I don't believe that. But just where are you on where they are? Like, are you still of the belief of like, man, they are cruising, they're exactly where they need to be? Or do you have any shed of doubt about Steve Sarkisian being the guy that's going to take them to the promised land one day?
I wouldn't say doubt, but I think it's not just all rainbows and sunshine. I think there's to borrow a Seinfeld term, this season's a pretty big matzo ball for him. I mean, you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to coach Arch Manning in his final weekend. It'd be all shocked if he's playing college football in 2027. You out and got Cam Coleman, a talent like that. I think that there's a chance that we're saying pretty early that there's never been a more talented wide receiver in the history of that program than Cam Coleman. With the roster that you have of a Ryan Wingo, who's not the most polished receiver in college football, but he's a pretty darn good number two. You went out and got Will Muschamp after your defense has been ahead of your offense for 3-4 years now, and you fire Pete Kwiatkowski to go hire Will Muschamp to say the problem with our team, with our offense, is that I'm spending too much time with the defense, and so the defense will get better with Will Muschamp, and the offense will get better with Will Muschamp. And then he's gone out, and this stuff doesn't matter, but it does. The comments that he's made where he set himself up to be a punching bag if Texas falls short yet again. I don't want to see yet again for a second year in a row. So it's not national championship or bust because those are unfair expectations for anyone. But they're that 2024 Ohio State range where whatever life Ryan Day would be living if Ohio State hadn't won the national championship, that's the life Sark's going to be living if they don't win it. That James Franklin, it was now or never that Oregon game, and his locker room decided that for him when that went out and lost that. So it's not that level, I don't believe yet, but I do think if they don't win the national championship, there's going to be a lot of people that are from the AD's office to the people that put the money to get the players in here. It's like, okay, so this is as good as it's going to get under this guy. And obviously, the tenor of that depends on the nature in which they fall short. Obviously, there's a lot of blanks to be filled in there. But I do think this is an if not now win type season for Steve Sarkisian.
Last thing I have, neither one of us are gamers, so we really didn't talk about it today, but the EA 27, you started seeing some stuff come out yesterday. Have you seen anything? Is there anything standing out to you or features that have been added to this game that have your interest?
I have to say I enjoyed the cover that had Kurt Signetti looking like it was a Van Wilder's remake. I really enjoyed that.
Classic comedy cover. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I to be honest, I play the game. It's my downtime activity. I played a game on my Oklahoma State Dynasty just a little bit ago, but I don't get too into it. So all that stuff, I play my game, and then I also recognize I'm a washed up middle-aged man, so I'm not trying to be the best NCAA 27 player in the world or even in my neighborhood. But I certainly will buy the new game and enjoy that. But I see they've added an NIL feature, and you can do Road to Glory as a defensive end or something like that if you want. I'm sure my boys will do that. More power to them. I'm just gonna try to lead the Wyoming Cowboys to a national championship.
There you go. I can't wait for this game to get too realistic, and then you can file lawsuits and injunction fight for more eligibility and just really get deep into it. How is Mestamaker in the orange and black on that game, by the way?
This is last year's game. So Drew's still at North Texas in this version of reality. As an Alito Bearcat, I started my Oklahoma State Dynasty to play with Haas Haney, who's now in the real world at Colorado State, who I think has a chance to be a really good college football player. We did win 2 national championships in his 4 seasons with me at the helm in Stillwater.
Nice. And I was getting a little bit ahead. I'm already thinking the game's out, and you've already got this dynasty going. And no, it still hasn't come out yet. But I'm interested in what Mestamaker looks like, and I'm with you. It's there. I play it, but I'm not in the trenches with it, so to speak. But Zach, hey, man, thanks for just spitballing, just shooting a little bull on college football and various things going on, man. Hope you have a great weekend. Congrats on the softball title, Texas guy. And we'll talk to you next week or here soon, man. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. There's Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com, with us here on 365 Sports, just talking some ball, man, just getting into some of the storylines. And there's a lot of stuff to unpack because the off seasons are so crazy now, just from a personnel perspective, and there's the carousel perspective, and there's just all of this turnover, and it's just a lot to absorb, but it's fun. And I found myself working through these team by teams and just getting to know them a bit more, and it's getting me excited. I'm trying not to get too excited because it's too soon to get we're 3 months away still, but it's fun to just kind of talk about expectations. And I had to ask him about Sark because I saw a conversation. I was like Brooks Austin maybe that had a opinion or a video or something maybe that I came across. And I guess he was of the opinion that Sark was on the hot seat. And then there was some back and forth on that. And I was sitting there thinking about it. And I'm like, I definitely know people that have that sort of an opinion. Right. So I want to ask Zach as a Texas guy what he thinks. And I do think it's you have to have pretty high level of results, but I don't buy into if he doesn't win 11 games this year, he's gone. I don't buy into that at all, that fear mongering kind of thing. But it is an interesting place to be in, where more so than ever at a school like Texas, and really at all the big programs, but you have no excuses.
Exactly.
You really have no, it's man, if only we could spend money. It's you can. If only we had more money, you have more than anybody. If only we had the 5-star quarterback, you have him. If only we had the 5-star receiver, you have him. If only we had you got a couple of these. So Texas is, they're always hyped up in the preseason because at this point in this era, they should always be good.
Yes.
Like they should always be good. But we do know that there's almost like a by default hyping of them sometimes where it's just the name can take the expectations maybe a little bit above where they need to be. That's not the case this year.
No.
Like they have every reason to feel like, no, the bar is as high as anybody's in college football. And so there is a lot of pressure on Sark. And I do come across some Texas fans who just aren't sold that he's the guy or whatever. So I just want to get Zach's 2 cents on that. And really, really looking forward to what that looks like for all of these teams that we're talking about. But Texas in particular will be a very interesting case this year.
I don't know, like, if you were to move off of Sark, who's better?
Right. That's a very legitimate question.
But then at the same time, I do get the argument that could be made if I was a Texas fan or somebody that if you weren't able to win a national championship with Quinn and those teams that they had, and you weren't able to win it with Arch, why should I believe Diabell's going to get it there?
Right. Yeah, no, that's very fair. And I think if history is any indicator, and not that all fans think this way, but I think the first thing you would hear is like they're going after Cignetti and they're going to throw $11 million at him or whatever it is and just make him like that's what they would do. And I try to think of like, who else would there be? Because now with
Dillingham, maybe like.
I mean, they took the big swipe at Saban back in the day.
Yeah.
Like as much as that gets goofed on now, they were trying to get him. Like it's just got goofed on that it was like the wife was house hunting and all that, and because it didn't work out, then it made a couple guys in particular just made them an easy target and all that. But like there's only some because now that Saban's gone, you're not bringing Urban out of retirement, so you're looking at your conference mates and you're going to try to take a Kirby Smart or maybe try to get a Dan Lanning. I could see.
I don't
Texas.
think Dan Lanning.
You don't think so?
I don't think
he might be a little bit too Tom Herman-ish in a way.
In a way, yes.
Does that make sense?
I can see some of that personality.
Kind of
he can rub people the wrong way, some boosters the wrong way. I don't think Dan Lanning leaves Oregon. Honestly,
he shouldn't. No.
He shouldn't leave. And I know he hasn't won a championship, but that's one of those places like I don't think you leave there even for Texas.
No, I'm with you on that. I think especially the way it's set up for them now in the NIL era that you ride it out and you try to be the man at Oregon, not the next guy at Texas. And I don't think Sark's going anywhere after this year unless just like hell freezes over and for some reason the wheels fall off. But here's my other big prediction that I think I'm starting to really embrace. I did a whole exercise like 2 months ago when the draft was going on, and I went through all of the eligible quarterbacks, and there's like 20 guys, and we've talked about this on the show before, of all the eligible quarterbacks that in theory could be in the NFL draft next year. And it's a crazy list of names. But like, is Lenora Sellers really a first round pick anymore, or is he not? But like, there's and will like, is John Mateer going to get drafted high? I don't think so. But he's a name that will be a part of it. And then there's the underclassmen. I think I'm starting to come around more that I think Arch stays like all 4 years, dude.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I really am like of that opinion now that I really just think he's going to ride it out. He has no need to leave really other than if he just wants to be in the NFL, but it's not a money thing. It's never been a money thing. And I don't know. I think I don't know him from Adam, but I just have this opinion that's formed where I'm like, we all assumed he was going to leave after like last year or 2 years ago. We were like, oh, well, once he's a redshirt sophomore, he'll be out of there. Well, he's back. And then it's like, well, once he's a junior, he'll be gone. And I'm like, I don't know. I think he could absolutely stay all 4 years.
Well, I mean, there's nothing about his personality that says he wouldn't. I mean, the dude's riding middle on an airplane, middle seat, just like he's casual. Like his whole life, he wanted to be in Austin. He's always wanted to be a Longhorn. And if you have an opportunity where you don't need to chase the money, why not enjoy all the time that you have there and to make the most of your 4 years?
Yeah, let's just say I would not be surprised at all if he came back.
No.
Now, obviously, this year will play a big factor if he goes and wins the Heisman. And I understand, too, there's a lot of people that even hear me mention him and Heisman the same words, and they immediately are like, irrelevant. You don't know what you're talking about, because he's got his batch of haters, too, and all of that. But I'm not of the opinion anymore that Arch is just a guaranteed thing to be rolling on along after this year. I think it's maybe 51-49. He's actually staying around for the entire haul. I know you got to run, man. Thank you for sticking around.
Absolutely.
Today and yesterday, Garrett, filling in, so I didn't have to be on a solo adventure with Smokey on vacation. Smokey will be back on Monday. We've talked to Chuck Cooperstein. He will be with us early next week. He actually was having some travel issues apparently, so good to know that he's doing all right, and we'll certainly get him on to talk Mavericks and Stars. And I know that before we go, there are some people that are like, well, they're still in Dallas. Like, why make a big deal out of it? And so I'm not trying to make it sound like a big deal, but it's just interesting of how perfect the AAC was in downtown and how just nobody's in downtown cities anymore, unless it's like Detroit or somewhere unique like that. But yeah, they will still be in Dallas technically by address or whatnot. But it'll be great for my sister and brother-in-law. They go to a lot of stuff, or at least they did before the baby. And now I think I went and looked up the addresses, and I think the Mavs new arena is like maybe 15 minutes away.
Yeah, because it's like on the other side of Highland Park. Like right, it's like I can't remember the highway that goes there. It's like on the other side of the highway.
Yeah, it's on the eastern side.
Yeah, the eastern side.
And that's where they are. They're up in that area, like northeast Dallas area. And so I think the Mavs and Stars both will be like maybe 15 minutes away. So that'll be kind of cool.
And then they'll get Universal Studios being built up there too.
Is there a Universal Studios?
They're building a Universal Studios theme park in Frisco, bro.
Okay, you just bought yourself more time here. I apologize to your wife for me.
No, we're good.
So I love Universal Studios. I haven't been in like 2 decades, but I loved it growing up. Absolutely loved it. It was I preferred it over Disney parks.
I always
we would go to
have
Orlando.
preferred it.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And I'm sitting here thinking about it in Dallas, Texas, and I'm just thinking of the summertime and how I do not like going to Six Flags over Texas anytime during the summer because it is like walking on the sun. So they're building the Universal Studios in Dallas.
Universal, it's like in Frisco,
of course
by
it
the
is.
Star. Like they're putting everything out there. Essentially, Dallas is now Frisco. That's essentially what this is turned into.
Universal Kids Resort is what this says. Okay, yeah. The Shrek, Trolls, Minions, Jurassic World, SpongeBob, Gabby's Dollhouse, and the Isle of Curiosity. So they're going to have like 7 lands. Okay, well, damn.
Yeah, it's popping up there.
Yeah, we'll be there. Here in about a month, right? We'll be in Frisco and maybe drive by wherever this new Universal Studio is going to be. I had no idea that was happening, but
crazy, man.
Hope they have some indoor stuff to do during the summertime. That's for sure. All right, that's enough of Garrett's time. Have a great weekend, man. Really appreciate you. I'm going to come back and ride it out solo for the next half hour or so. We got the polls and trivia and the wheel to get to, and I'll see if there was anything of interest from Greg Sankey that came out after we started talking to Zach. And we'll come back and finish out the show and the week. This is the Smoke Show on 365 Sports.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Island Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well service and any kind of warranty issues or those sort of things. Because of the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. And so I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke and David Smoke.
And welcome back into the Smoke Show on 365 Sports. Appreciate you being with us here in this 5 o'clock hour. That'll only be about a half hour or so, as we normally close out around 5:30. And today, closing out the week officially, Smokey will be back on Monday, and we'll get back to our normal business with him. And, just keep on cruising along here over the coming weeks and months. But Big 12 Media Day is about a month away, so unfortunately, that Universal Studios Park will not be built by the time that we get up there, I don't think. But interesting to learn that here in the last few minutes from Garrett Ross. So I think I'll be taking my my niece Gracie to that place here in the next few years, Lord willing. But let's take a look at a couple of things here, including a score update from the college baseball super regionals ongoing, as earlier today, West Virginia was able to take game number 1 in their series in Morgantown with Cal Poly. And, man, I've got to get to West Virginia to watch a football game, a baseball game, something. My peers are far more well-traveled than I when it comes to checking off a lot of boxes and stadiums, and I didn't have that friend group or maybe even family group or whatever where you got together and you said, hey, we're going to go to every major league ballpark or whatever kind of traveling caravan. And I know like Paul, I think was doing that. I don't know if he still is, like going to every single major league baseball park, but there's a lot of places I would like to go that I haven't been. And West Virginia, especially when they're at their proudest and at their best, is definitely one of those places. But they were partying today, 12-2, the win over Cal Poly. So they will try to advance to their first ever trip to Omaha with one more win this weekend. But the second game of the day nearing its conclusion. And right now in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, USC is up 9-5 on the host Tar Heels. Bottom of the 9th inning, so getting down to the nitty-gritty here. That might be done before we sign off today. But USC up 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Looks like they are getting close to closing that one out and getting a game on the road. Meanwhile, we are underway in Troy as the Trojans are up 5-2 on Little Rock in the bottom of the 3rd inning. So a lot of scoring already early on in that Troy Super Regional. So it looks like West Virginia, the guaranteed thing. USC is going to probably close this out, barring some epic collapse we might have to extend the show for. And then Troy, a bit of a ways to go, but up 3 runs on Little Rock. And then later on tonight, it will be on ESPN and ESPN2, Ole Miss and Auburn from Auburn, Alabama. Auburn, the 4 seed. So I'm looking forward to watching a lot of baseball this weekend. Tomorrow, just run it down one more time. It will start off a big day of baseball, 8 games, 10 a.m. If you are looking for something to start watching, if you are looking to have just one of those days where you sit on the couch and drink beer all day or have your refreshments and just watch baseball because you love to watch college baseball, tomorrow is your day. Starting at 10 a.m., you got Mississippi State, Georgia, game number 1, then game 2 of West Virginia, Cal Poly. Hour after that, at 11, you got games at 1 and 2, games at 4 and 5, and games at 7 and 8. So think about that. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I'm talking Central Time being here in the state of Texas, but a full day of baseball, including a lot of game 1s for the teams that didn't start today, like that St. John's, Alabama series, and Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and what was the other one? Mississippi State, Georgia. So, looking forward to watching all that throughout the rest of the weekend and seeing how all of that goes. But really, really cool scenes in Morgantown earlier today. And, shout out Texas Tech, man. I know last night with the softball loss, it was tough, very tough pill to swallow. it's fun to be good. It's better to be great. And I think in a lot of ways, Texas Tech softball over the last couple of years has been great. Obviously, they've had one of the better players in school history, but not just Marjorie Kennedy, many others on that squad as well that will move on and were difference makers. But it is brutal to not only get to the championship round and feel like it's oh so close, and this is what you poured all this effort and time and money and everything else into, and for the players themselves who just the passion and love for the game, the goal to win a national championship. I'd imagine for Kennedy or Williams or whoever else on that team, falling short is brutal. And I was never an athlete at a high enough level to know what that experience is like, but I know that to fall that short that quickly in back-to-back years and then not have another opportunity for some of them is a tough pill to swallow. But I think Tech just needs to keep chipping away. Unfortunately, you did lose to Texas, and unfortunately, it did occur at a time where there was a lot of barking back and forth between the two fan bases. So I think that does pour some extra salt into the wound. Whereas if you lost to UCLA, then whatever, you move on, you don't dwell on it. You're still pissed. You're probably a little bit sad, but it's not like you got Bruins fans that are harassing you at work or whatever. And so this is a different story and a little bit more personal. But shout out to Texas Tech softball. A great couple of years. I don't think they're going anywhere. And you just have to give credit to Texas. I mean, they, as much as the Red Raiders, poured in investments, even though some programs that do that try to act like they don't. And like Texas Tech is some rebel outlier that's gaming the system. We know that's bullshit, for lack of a better term, and that it was fine when they did it and it was under wraps, so to speak. But now that it's out in the open and fully legal, it's somehow a much bigger problem. But nevertheless, I won't get off on that tangent once again. Yeah, I think that it's been a great run for Texas Tech, and you just had to give Texas a lot of credit because, they've done a lot to improve their their softball program over the last several years as well. So fun to see that sport come to a close, and I'm interested to see what the final rating is, even though I am definitely not a believer in every rating that I see at first glance. I just want to know, like, is it a couple million? I think it will be. I think it'll be like a couple million viewers, something along those lines. And I think that's all very good and very healthy for the sport of softball. Rez, we getting close over there? Just let me know with thumbs up in the window whenever you have something. Okay, we got a big super chat. Great. Fantastic. You can go and pop that up whenever you get a chance, and I'll go over that. Kim Coulter, 1999. Great job hosting the last 2 days, Dragon. Thank you. Man, Kim, thank you. You're so generous. Very appreciative of your generosity and your friendship and just your love for the show and your support, as well as everybody else who's usually in the chat with us. And I know we're accustomed to a different dynamic, but it's been nice to kind of knock the rust off the last couple of days. It's been a while since I've hosted, and I'm very thankful for Garrett being willing to just pop in before I even asked him. And it's been fun to do. It's definitely, though, felt like knocking the rust off. I feel like now, though, like I could just start on Monday and we could just roll and I'd be good, and all the rust has been knocked off, and I have a better idea of like, oh, I forgot to do that, or I needed to do that in preparation. I've had fun just kind of getting back in this chair, and been able to do this a little bit more with the Smoke Break podcast. So if you haven't checked that out right now, I'm just rolling through schedules in the Big 12 on the YouTube page, 365 Sports YT. Just submitted the TCU prediction. These are my official on-the-record predictions, and I go game by game, but it's like 10-ish minutes. I started to get into like the 20-minute territory, and I was like, that's not what I want to do. I don't think that's what you want to watch. I need to keep it somewhat brief because I can get lost in all of the changes. Like Colorado could have been a 45-minute episode with all the damn turnover they've had, much less Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and I'm in just the same league right now. I still got to go to the SEC, the Big Ten, and wherever else we can get after that. I'm planning on the ACC at minimum as well. So more of those will be coming your way. That's been fun to do kind of on my own. But Bracket Cat also with a super chat, $1.99. You have a gem here, and Craig, 365 ownership. Man, that means a lot. Thank you very much. Both you, Bracket Cat, and Kim, y'all are two of our biggest supporters. And we do appreciate you a great deal. And hopefully you know that it's not just lip service. So always glad to have y'all along for the ride. And probably going to be hosting a few more solo shows as we get into the summer. I think we're going to have different vacations. I might be out for a day or two. Well, I'll definitely be out for a day or two here and there at some point. But I'm having a lot of fun these last couple of days, so I really do appreciate that support. And let me check before we get into the wheel here on one thing before we go, because I've updated baseball and I've updated. We've obviously, softball didn't need any update. Looks like the Troy Super Regional is absolutely off the charts, though. They got a huge turnout in Troy, Alabama today, which that is pretty cool. But I wanted to see if there's anything else from Ross Dellinger that was of note from Greg Sankey, just to kind of put a bow on that, because when Smokey gets back, we will start to dive back a bit more into the politics, and thank you, Rez, into the storylines ongoing. And not that we only talk about that with him, it's just not really a whole lot to update for this particular day and for yesterday, other than the fact that Cruz Cantwell Bill met some resistance and they're battling through it. So I'm sure we'll have some of our usual suspects to break down what all that means moving forward. Retired stockbroker, 365. Have a great weekend, all. Retired stockbroker. You're in the same camp as those other good folks that contributed just a few minutes ago. You're a gem as well. And so I hope you have a great weekend, and I really appreciate your support as always. So let's see here. Looks like pretty much the same things that I told you earlier about Greg Sankey's comments on the Super League. And so basically what we can focus on moving forward when having that discussion, and I do think it's still a worthy discussion to have, no matter how much Tim Brando wanted to kind of just poo-poo it and push it off to the side. What is interesting about that developing discussion that I think we'll be talking some more about is the fact that the future is so murky that you can't rule anything out at this point, really. Like, you can't say with any certainty that this isn't possible, that's not possible, or what have you. So that leaves it open to a lot of speculation. But it is very interesting to see Greg Sankey go on the record and say, hey, we're not trying to break away. We're not looking to break away. We're not looking to form a super league. It's the Smash Capital guys. It's outside noise, as he kind of referred to it, outside voices like private capital investors. And you know what? If you know enough about it, you could totally see where that's the case. I don't think that Greg Sankey is just an habitual liar, and I could absolutely see a scenario where there are people circling like vultures or sharks with blood in the water, and there's plenty of bloody water right now in the college sports landscape. I could absolutely see a scenario where some bad actors or some predators want to get their claws sunk into college sports because they see what all there is to take advantage of and to reap the rewards from. So I would not be surprised at all if a lot of the Super League talk that you hear from areas where you might not, like, I can assure you, we're not getting P money to promote or float the idea. I just know that there's a cliff coming at some point, and we're either going to ride a parachute all together and land safely, or some people are going to have a parachute and some people are going to find out their parachute was a dummy parachute. And I don't know which is which yet, but we know something's coming. And so that's why the Super League talk isn't going anywhere. But an interesting wrinkle there in how he phrased and framed the fact that, hey, it's not me and Petiti, it's Smash Capital or the likes of those guys. So more on that, I would think, next week. S. Michael DeHart, another great supporter of the show. Dragon, come on up to West Virginia. We'll take care of you. $16 for number 16 West Virginia University Mountaineers. S. Michael, thank you so much. Really appreciate the 16 there. Congratulations. I was very envious seeing that scene the last couple of weeks, especially earlier today with it just being the latest example. But congratulations on the win. Take care of business. Sorry, random Cal Poly fan that's watching this show. No offense, but I got way more Mountaineers that I ride with and have for the last few years and will continue to ride with. I think they're a great story, and I hope that they take care of their business. And S. Michael, have fun celebrating that win and hopefully another one, and hopefully a trip to Omaha here in the very near future. Hopefully we're talking about that when we come back on Monday. So, really appreciate the super chats. Tell you what, let's go ahead and wind it down here, Rez, and we'll start off with the usual games. I'll try to at least get one trivia question right to keep our streak going, which I don't even know what the streak's at this point, but we're doing pretty well. We're well above 500, that's for sure. But let's start off with the spinning of the wheel. And where are we today? It always ticks up. What kind of ice cream is your favorite? Could be just a scoop of ice cream or anything outside of that, like a Chipwich, soft serve, Dippin' Dots, popsicle, milkshake, etc. I want to say that we had like an ice cream related question not that long ago because I remember what my answer was, but this I think is a bit more broad, and even still my answer is the same. Bluebell Dutch chocolate ice cream. I'm a plain boy. I don't have a lot of like when I get a cheeseburger or something, I don't have a whole lot of toppings and stuff on it. I keep it pretty basic with like all of my food. So yeah, just chocolate ice cream, but Bluebell Dutch chocolate. If you know, you know. And that is definitely my go-to. I like other type. I'll have a Ben & Jerry's or whatever other type of brand like randomly every once in a while just to do something a little bit different. But my go-to is absolutely Bluebell Dutch chocolate. And then some of that other stuff that he mentions here, it's been like probably 20 years since I had Dippin' Dots. And it was probably at like Universal Studios or Six Flags the last time I went. But those are awesome on a hot summer day. You know what? Like the lemon chills. Everybody remember those? Like the lime chill, lemon chill. I think they had a red flavor as well. But I really liked those as far as a dessert goes, especially at like an amusement park in Texas in July. Chipwich is great. Soft serve. I love soft serve. Popsicles, cool. I'd say yes to all those, but Bluebell Dutch chocolate, that's my go-to. So there we go with the spinning of the wheel. I think Smokey's answer would actually be the same. We don't have a ton of crossover similarities as far as our interest, but I think that's one where we would be on the same page, would be the Dutch chocolate ice cream. He might, you know what, though? He might say, like, of those options, like ice cream sandwich, I think he's somebody that likes to have one of those like randomly every once in a while. So that might have been a part of his answer as well. But thank you for that, Andrew. And let's get into the rest of our games here to close out this Friday afternoon. And here we are with trivia. Which legendary dual threat quarterback is the only player in college football history to start and win 4 consecutive bowl games? Well, I know it's not Vince Young right off the top of my head because he didn't stay for 4 straight years. And now I'm just completely lost on the timing of some of these other guys. Man, I'm getting screamed at in the comments or just in general, somebody randomly watching because I'm trying to remember and line up the years. Deshaun Watson, that would have been too early. I'm trying to think of. I'm not good with years, guys. I'm not good with years and remembering them specifically. That's not really my wheelhouse. I'm leaning Tebow, but I'm going to say Pat White because I just want to stick with West Virginia here, and let's just talk about Pat White for a second. So let me go with that. I don't feel very confident in it, though. Whew, there you go. You know what? I deserve that music. I deserve that. Thank you, Rez, for that. I absolutely deserve that. I pulled that one out. Pat White was college football's ultimate dual threat, going 35-8 as a starter and leading West Virginia University to wins in the 06 Sugar, 07 Gator, 08 Fiesta, and 08 Meineke Car Care Bowls. He set 19 records and finished as the NCAA's all-time leading rushing quarterback with 4,480 yards. West Virginia has officially retired his iconic number 5 jersey today, June 5th. Is that right? They retired his. Is that today that they retired his jersey? Either way. Okay, yeah, they announced today. See, I didn't see this, and I'm glad that I didn't because that makes me feel better about still getting it right. But if I had seen this, then I definitely would have guessed Pat White. But yeah, okay. I wish I would have had this in headlines. My apologies. West Virginia to retire Pat White's number 5 jersey this fall. Damn it, I wish I had this to talk about with Garrett because I know he is a Pat White appreciator, us being early 2000s boys. So yeah, Pat White's number 5 will be retired this fall at a home game that will be announced later this summer. Another smart decision by friend of the show, A.D. Renbaker. He called White a generational player who helped lead the program through one of its most successful eras. And then it mentions the similar trivia here of the 4 straight bowl games and 4 victories in said bowl games, as well as his 35-8 record. And yeah, makes sense. Rich Rodriguez and just celebrating West Virginia. So White will become the 7th football number retired at West Virginia, joining Major Harris, of course, number 9, Ira Rogers, number 21, Chuck Halley, number 66, Sam Huff, dude, number 75, Bruce Bosley, 77, and Daryl Talley, number 90. So yeah, Pat White's number 5 up next. That's awesome. Okay, that's the first I was learning of that. So what a double whammy of good there to get the trivia question right and just talk about a great college football player, one of my favorite dudes to watch, in Pat White, and also to see that he's rightfully getting his jersey retired. So that's very cool. Very, very cool. All right, good deal. All right, let's move on to the next trivia question. In his legendary 48-point Western Conference Finals Game 1 masterclass against the Thunder, how many free throws did Dirk Nowitzki make without a single miss? Oh, man. I don't really recall. I mean, I recall the Mavs in the early 2000s very well, but I don't recall this exact stat all that well. Dirk is the only guy that I will say, though, he's the only one that could, like, bump Michael Jordan off my favorite NBA players, like top of the list. You asked me my favorite player for the longest time, it was Michael Jordan. And then Dirk came around and supplanted him and probably will always be at the top now that Luka can't finish out his career in Dallas, especially. But even if he did, even if Luka won like 3 titles with Dallas, I'm not so sure Dirk's still not my number one guy no matter what. But, man, 30 seems like a lot of free throws in game 1. Man, let's go 24. What the hell? Let's go 24. Bam. Okay. Very nice. Dirk won a historic 24 of 24 from the line, set an NBA playoff record. 2011 run cemented his legacy. Yeah, it did. As an underdog alpha with no other All-Stars, Dirk swept Kobe's Lakers. I'm going to start crying thinking about this 2011 Mavericks team. Like, talk about like my favorite memories, favorite teams. And I actually went to a lot of games that year, and especially a lot of postseason games with my buddy Tim. And he had season tickets and brought me along, and it was just the most fun. And at the AAC, which they are now going to leave for another part of Dallas, but I will always have sweet, sweet memories of driving by that area of this particular run. But as an underdog alpha with no All-Stars, no other All-Stars, Dirk swept Kobe's Lakers, beat OKC's young trio of Harden, Westbrook, and Durant, and shocked Miami's Heatles. Yeah, LeBron and D-Wade. He averaged 10.3 points in the fourth quarter of the final, shedding the soft label forever with an unguardable one-legged fadeaway. So Dirk Nowitzki, man, Andrew's singing my tunes here. Random Pat White love, and now some Dirk as well. So yeah, a lot of favorites here going on. So all right, 2-0 on the trivia. We continue to crush trivia. Andrew continues to come up with some great questions though as well. So that leaves us with, I believe, one thing left to do, and let's get into the poll questions before we head on out the door. And here we go. Who takes Game 2 of the NBA Finals? The Knicks with the road steal in game number 1, an incredible game when all was said and done, and a monster performance from Jalen Brunson, among others. But San Antonio, 72% of a pretty healthy number of votes there. New York with 28%. I think San Antonio wins game 2. I do. I think they have to win game 2, but I do think they will bounce back. I think Wembanyama will play a lot better than he did in game number 1, and I think San Antonio has a little bump from that home crowd, and they're able to tie this thing up before it goes to MSG. So I'm with the majority here. San Antonio to win game 2. And the final poll question is, which of these top U.S. beach destinations would you visit? Myrtle Beach, 19%, Huntington Beach, 9%, Waikiki Beach, 65%, and Ocean City, 7%. Would love to go to all of them. I'm definitely more of a beach guy if you're talking geography, but I really love the West Coast and just the flavor of the Pacific and all that. I just feel, I don't know, I feel at home near the ocean more than anywhere else, whether that's East Coast, West Coast, even Gulf Coast. But I really love like just the West Coast vibes, not all the other stuff that comes with it, but just the relaxation and a trip and being in a beautiful place. I'm going to go with a place I don't know if I'll ever get to, and it's way, way west. It's way off the West Coast, and that's Waikiki Beach. That's where I would go. So I'm with the majority of people here as well. Would love to go out to Hawaii and to a place like Waikiki Beach. It would be absolutely right up my alley. So maybe I'll hit the lotto over the weekend and I can make that happen here before the end of the summer is over with or something. But yeah, I think we're all kind of thinking the same thing. Nice effort, though, from Myrtle Beach, 19% of the votes. So, okay, cool. Waikiki Beach, I'm with the majority here. So there you go with that. Thank you, Andrew, for putting together the poll questions and all the games and fun stuff here at the end. And thank you, party people, for all of the fun throughout this week. Smokey will be back on Monday from his trip to visit family, his brothers out in Florida, speaking of being out on the coast. Hopefully he's enjoying seeing I guess where he is, the Atlantic Ocean. And over on that eastern side of Florida. And so shout out to my family out there, Mike, Phil, Marianne, everybody else. Hope you're all doing well. Love y'all. And love you, the audience, as well. Really appreciate you being along for the ride on a daily basis or whenever you pop in for however long and whatever it is that you watch. We're just here for all the best types of reasons and hopefully make your day go by a little bit better and be a little bit more entertaining. And sometimes it can be a little bit crazy because of what the news cycle brings, but that's also sometimes part of the fun. And we're all riding that wave of college sports and craziness together. So everybody out there, have a great weekend. Enjoy the college baseball landscape and all the pro sports stuff. And we'll be back on Monday to talk about it all. A deep thank you to Rez behind the scenes as well, producing the show. Incredible job, my man, as well. Thanks to Garrett Ross as well for his help and everybody else behind the scenes. Until next time, I'm Craig Smoke. Have a great weekend, everybody.